Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network Premier Media Podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content, help you answer the question, can you really believe it's almost been a year since the release of Rise of Skywalker? I mean, it feels like they came out forever ago and, like, forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
I just saw Adam Sandler tweeted, "Happy birthday, Gems." So Uncut Gems actually came out a year ago. In America, Australia, we had to wait a little bit longer, but
February.
If you want to celebrate the release of a movie, let's celebrate the release of the panic attack known as Uncut Gems and not Rise of Skywalker.
I mean, they were just celebrating 3 years since Last Jedi.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
All right. Also joining us today, the host of Radio Watson and 2020 Academy Award co-winner, predictions winner, Buddy Watson.
Wow, I've forgotten all about that. I've tried to erase all of 2020, but maybe that's the one notch on my belt that I should kind of keep. Maybe I should put that in my Twitter bio.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, there you go.
Do it.
And this is how I add Explosion Network to my Twitter bio. Who'd have thought? One step at a time.
All right, we've got a big show. We'll be talking about everything in our watch history. We'll be covering the biggest news in the last 2 weeks, and it's been a massive 2 weeks. We'll talk about the movie we ended up watching, Die Hard.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
All right, I'll kick things off. So on Amazon Prime, they just released the movie Sound of Metal, directed by Darius Marder, starring Riz Ahmed, Olivia Cole, Paul Raci. It follows Riz Ahmed's character Ruben, who's a drummer in a metal duo band with Olivia Cook's character Lou. He starts to lose hearing in his ears, obviously. Don't know where else he would lose his hearing. But the film pretty much covers his struggle to deal with losing a very significant part of himself as a musician, not being able to hear himself drum anymore. Obviously, he can't do that anymore. He's also a recovering addict, so he kind of finds himself into a program to help him through this transition and not get himself back into his old kind of ways and that kind of stuff. Really interesting film. I think one of the most interestingly sound designed films this year. Obviously get that real feeling of what it would be to slowly lose your hearing, but also shot in a way that tells it from the perspective of anybody else who would be in the room at the same time. But yeah, Riz Ahmed gives a fantastic performance. And it was obviously a really insightful look at it, I guess, and also a tale of, accepting things, I guess, without spoiling too much.
So can I say, I've never heard this until you just brought it up, but just looking at pictures of this, Riz Ahmed looks fucking ripped in this.
He does. He's doesn't have a shirt on for, obviously he's a drummer. He's not wearing a shirt for a large period of time. He
usually plays like sort of dweeby, nerdy type characters, or like whatever. So this isn't that. So yeah. Did you come across this? Because I was looking at the director. The director wrote The Place Beyond the Pines.
Yeah, the
which
director
was co-written by
wrote
Derek Lanfrace, who wrote Blue Valentine. Is this a connecting to when we talked about
No, I've seen this one mentioned on a few lists of like best of the year kind of stuff, so it was definitely on my radar, and it just dropped on Amazon Prime. Everywhere, I think, which is a bit unusual. Normally it's like America first and then slowly gets trotted out everywhere else. Well, yeah, we'll see. See how this sticks. But yeah, really good film. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
You haven't watched Whiplash, have you, by the way?
No, I haven't watched Whiplash, so I feel that it's a very...
I was about to say, interesting comparison.
I will say it's definitely not Whiplash.
There's not many movies where it's like, it's from the drummer. Like, the drummer's the star. It's always like the lead singer or the guitarist. There's not many movies where it's like, it's about a drummer.
The drummer is the second least appreciated member of the band.
Yeah, it's like, I can't say I've ever seen a movie where starring the bass player.
Yeah. yeah, so definitely check that one out. I went to the cinema and checked out Promising Young Woman, which is directed by Emerald Fennell, who show ran the second season of Killing Eve, the show created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, starring Carey Mulligan, Bo Burnham, Alison Brie, Clancy Brown, Jennifer Coolidge, Connie Britton, Laverne Cox. Tells the story of Cassie, who was in like med school, but left med school after her friend had like a sexual assault incident that wasn't handled very well, obviously. And has since in her life since is sort of like kind of meandering through life, working at a coffee shop. But then at night she pretends to be drunk to allow men to pick her up, and subsequently freaks them out. Like, it never implies that she does anything more than that, it never specifically says she does anything more than that, but I mean, you could read it.
That's not what I thought this movie would be about, judging off the poster and the title, which is all I knew about it. No, I don't know.
No, so that's kind of her coping mechanism to deal with her friend going through that ordeal and her like kind of having her own power and that kind of stuff. But then she meets a character played by Bo Burnham, who, maybe she's got a chance at a different kind of life. But then it also opens up the opportunity for further revenge. Obviously, obviously a film of touching some very dark subject matter. I think it's probably, as a straight white-ish male, it's going to play very different to me than it probably will to someone of the opposite gender. Who I fear I've seen people describe this as a horror film. I don't know that I would call it a horror film, although there is like horrific things. I guess there's stuff to be scared of from both genders. I mean,
something to be scared of, and a horror film if you're a creep.
Yeah, if you're, these creeps, like one of them's played by Adam Brody, and then another one's played by what's his name? From Superbad. The
Grant
kid.
Hill. Michael Cena.
No,
no one ever knows that guy's name. McLovin.
McLovin. Yeah.
I don't know that.
He plays one, and they're all Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They're all, they're all the like. I'm the nice. I was being a nice guy, as she's hard, almost completely shit faced, and they're trying to take revenge of her and stuff. So, I really enjoyed it. I love Bo Burnham in this. Obviously, I'm a huge big Bo Burnham fan. He's super charming in this. There is a sequence in this film involving a song performed by a reality TV show star that is one of my favorite scenes, maybe of the year. It's just so ridiculous and fun. Yeah, definitely one to check out. I think the soundtrack across the board is really well done. They do a really cool mix of in the trailer they use Toxic by Britney Spears, but in the film they use a really interesting mix of the song in like an orchestral way. So that was a definite high point for me. But yeah, Carey Mulligan, brilliant in this. I really enjoyed her in this. Yeah. I just saw apparently this is going up for best comedy at the Golden Globes this year. So,
wow, classic Golden Globes.
They've nominated themselves to like be eligible for the comedy. Which there's some funny gags and stuff
up there with The Martian.
Yeah. It's like a dark comedy, like really dark. So yeah, this one comes out. I went to an event screening. This one I believe comes out 7th of January next year.
Jesus.
So it's a bit of a wait, but I think it's definitely worth it. Then on the other end of the scale, I watched Godmother, the latest release on Disney Plus, starring Gillian Bell and Isla Fisher. Tells the story of a fairy godmother in training, played by Gillian Bell, in a world where the fairy godmothers are pretty much almost defunct because nobody believes in fairy godmothers anymore. So she finds a letter from a little girl in this like archive of letters that was left there. A little 10-year-old girl. So she escapes the training realm to go to the real world to help this little girl find true love
Classic.
Only to find it's Isla Fisher, who's much, much older and is very much not believing in true love and happily ever after. I mean, it's a perfectly adequate film, the sort of film you'd expect.
Holiday movie.
Yeah, it is a holiday movie. I didn't know that going in. I didn't realize it was a Christmas movie. And it's not really a Christmas movie. It just takes place during winter. So, of course...
Hey, don't say that now. We'll start some arguments later.
Maybe. You know? But yeah, there's some nice moments, you know? She makes the fairy godmother. She's got the ability to... She's very old-fashioned, like very... She thinks things, obviously, in the Middle Ages is when the prime time for fairy godmothers was. So clearly knows nothing about taxis and trucks and any electronics. So, you know, that's good for a couple of chuckles and that kind of stuff. And she seeks to get some woodland creatures to help out around the house. So she enlists like a random raccoon. That is quite amusing at times. But yeah, this is kind of, if you don't have some kids or something, or you don't like these cheesy Disney films, this probably isn't going to be something down your alley. But yeah. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. All right, you guys have both finally watched Mank that came out just as the last episode released. Obviously, I talked about it a little bit the last episode, about how I went to the cinema to watch it, and it was very poorly lit. I have since rewatched most of the film. It was definitely poorly lit. I'm sure this will make sense, but there's obviously a scene where Mank and the character played by Amanda Seyfried walk around a mansion estate.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost pitch black. It was almost like it was actually night with no lights. So that gives you an idea of how dark the screening was. So it was clearly not an optimal screening experience.
Many people were in there with you, just sitting there going, oh, this is fine?
Probably like 10, 15.
Really?
Yeah.
So just like 10 of you sitting there going,
maybe
black
this
and
is
white,
what,
mostly black. It's fine.
Maybe this is what Fincher meant. This was Fincher's idea. You know?
Man.
Maybe
what cinema
this
was
is
it
at?
Dendy? Portside?
Yeah.
Dendy or yeah, it doesn't matter. They'll be swirling their wine. Like this is amazing type thing. Even though there's a problem with the screening, they don't even know about it.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Buddy, you're a massive David Fincher fan. What do you think of his latest release?
This is a very un-Fincher-like movie, outside of the I guess the similarities between Fincher having another self-destructive, damaged protagonist in the film. Outside of everything else, the actual, like, I feel like the themes and reasons why I watch David Fincher films are attracted to those kind of genres, like, really non-existent. So this kind of feels like, especially with his father kind of writing the passing and writing the kind of the screenplay, I feel that this is like one of those passion projects, like one for me. So yeah, I probably didn't really get into it as much as what I thought I was going to, with, you know, already being favorable towards him as a director, that kind of thing. I feel like the idea of what Mank is more impressive than what the actual execution of it, and that's just what I thought about it. Specifically after watching Citizen Kane for the first time more recently as well, and seeing what Citizen Kane had to say and how kind of innovative that was at the time with some of the techniques that it used, and really less to say about Citizen Kane as the film, and more about like 30s and 40s Hollywood, and I guess more so like the politics of that kind of era. And it's like really not what I was I don't know what I was expecting, really. Hoping for, or maybe that I wanted him to lean more into that innovation instead of just like the man behind the film. So I thought it was good, but not really great or impressed, and maybe a second viewing will change that. But it probably didn't help that I watched Citizen Kane very close proximity to this as well, and was quite impressed with that. Despite it having some lofty expectations as one of the greatest films of all time and all that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Dylan, what did you think of Mank?
I feel like if you've never watched Citizen Kane, this movie is just not watchable because it is. I think this is a really good movie, mostly because the performances are really good and the cinematography is good and the Trent Reznor score is still very good, but
so good,
so weird. Like he did, but the fact that he did this very old timey score for it, I was watching a movie, I'm like, did Reznor do this? And I open up IMDb and see it's him. I'm like, fuck, that's weird, but sure, whatever. Just proves he's a very talented man. Well, I already knew that anyway, but the movie. I think my biggest problem with this movie is it feels like it was written for a time where everyone knew what Citizen Kane was and knew it would be more widely accepted that people could watch this and understand, and get attached to it. But given that it comes out in 2020, most people our age haven't seen Citizen Kane. I just would throw that out there and say that's probably true.
Yep.
I mean, we only watched it last year. Buddy's just saying he watched it now. So none of us can really we're not.
We actually watched it 2018, episode 9 of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to go back and hear our thoughts.
I thought it was only last year. I think my biggest
These years are
problem. It is. This one doesn't count. My biggest problem with the movie is it neither gives you a deep dive into the man that is Mank, given the movie's titled Mank. I walked away going, okay, I don't really understand what made him tick, because the movie is more or less a bunch of scenes that are, here's a scene where this is how he thought of the political stuff for Citizen Kane, and here's a scene that inspired the romance of Citizen Kane. They're all just sort of these random scenes from his life that are obviously supposed to go, well, this inspires Citizen Kane by this way, this way, this way. But even after 2 hours, 2.5 hours, however long the movie is, at the end, it's I don't really understand what made that guy tick at all, because it's just a bunch of scenes that tie into the movie. But then if you want to make a movie that's solely built around showing you the scenes in real life that inspired the scenes in Citizen Kane, I think given that this is coming out in 2020, they should have dumbed it down a little bit and actually had the scenes in here or had it tie in a different way. I feel like the movie's trying to be too smart to its own detriment, especially given the audience that's going to see it now. And I think it probably would have been a lot better. This is a rare case where I'll say the movie would have been better to have dumbed itself down and shown you here's this scene, or I don't know, done it in some way that you go, okay, I understand what they're trying to tell me now, because I cannot imagine watching this without watching Citizen Kane and walking away and going anything other than, what was the point? I don't understand. What was this movie?
I look forward to someone doing a Citizen Kane Mank cut.
Yeah.
Cutting the two films together.
I reckon you could watch each of those little interludes, flashback scenes. I reckon you could nearly watch Citizen Kane and go, this one is the inspiration for this scene. This one's the inspiration for this scene. That's what I think they all are. They're supposed to all be little scenes that show you how he builds the script over his history, all these real life events.
Yeah, but I think that's clearly the story. The story is what got him to write Citizen Kane. Obviously, his relationship with Hearst, who was the inspiration for Kane.
But I don't think the movie makes that story as interesting as it thinks it is, and I don't think it makes Mank. It should have made Mank more interesting, or focus more on him, or focus more on making the behind the scenes stuff more interesting. I feel like it's trying to put one foot in both, being this making of Citizen Kane, and also here's a life story of Mank, this guy that most people have never heard of because he's most popular for this and the script he wrote after it. And then it doesn't do either particularly well. And the reason the movie's so good at the end is just, as I said, it's shot well, beautiful acting. These scenes are you can watch all these scenes and go, look at all these amazing actors doing acting, 10 out of 10, But when I boil it down, I'd say this is not a particularly good script. Everything else is great. The script, I would say, is not particularly good because I just don't think it comes together as a story.
Well, I feel obviously that script was written
20,
30 years ago. I suspect David Fincher probably didn't touch it since. So, it's definitely obviously a passion project. Obviously, I think, one, you need to know Citizen Kane. Two, probably helps if you know 30s American California politics. That was the other major hurdling point, I feel like, especially obviously as an Australian, knowing very little about that. Although, again, kind of played in, to a certain extent, into current events. Well,
I mean, like when we watch Citizen Kane, when you go read up on Citizen Kane, if you read up on Citizen Kane, you're basically learning the politics of America at the time because of how heavily that movie is. So, like, I feel like you can't watch Citizen Kane now without having to go do a quick Wikipedia of like what the political climate was, or like the backlash, the fact that they tried to get that movie like banned, and like so many weird things. I think the fact that movie was such a like one of the most outlandish things to ever happen at the time, and they were trying to like not the politician was trying to get it shut down, the News Corp dude and whatever his name was,
Hearst, like
media mogul, media mogul, like trying to like basically make this movie fail and like buying it out so people wouldn't play it in places, and you watch it now and you're like, it's so tame. What's the deal?
Yeah,
I would have loved it if it leaned more into the like you said, the Hearst relationship, or behind the scenes of Citizen Kane, or more into the inner workings of Hollywood and how different Citizen Kane was at the time and what they were trying to do with how they filmed it and all that kind of stuff. And instead of that, I feel like it was just like a little bit of sprinkling. It was like a jack of all trades, master of none. Let's just focus a little bit on a bit of everything instead of one thing.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just how I felt about it as well.
Definitely. Did you feel like this film could have used more Orson Welles? I feel like they would have been a bit more interesting. Obviously, you get the scene at the start, and then there's that scene at the end, and that's the bulk of it.
Specifically,
and suddenly there's sort of meant to be some massive divide between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically because of the history of them and the potential of getting the writing credit removed, and that kind of story. There was less of that kind of friction and, adversity through it than what I thought it was going to be. I'm like, okay.
I think
probably that was one of the bigger things behind the scene about the writing credit and who did what and etc.
Yeah, I feel like the movie just expects. That's what you can tell it was written so long ago, because I feel like it was written from a point of view of expecting the audience to already understand a lot of these relationships, because it expects you to understand that Orson Welles was apparently a bit of a dick, showboaty, control freak, whatever you want to call him, like behind the scenes. And if you come in not knowing all that, it's kind of just the scene where he spits it out of the blue and then over the writing credits is like
that seems perfectly reasonable. Me here in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how dare you want writing credit for something that you have written? Outlandish. Get the hell out of here. There's heaps of other weird things too. Just they have the whole scene where he first meets Amanda Seyfried's character and like gets introduced to the director there and all that very sort random. Of stuff. Like, it's very random scene just to set up their relationship, where I feel like if you watch this movie and you're doing it like on your phone or like not paying too much attention, you can nearly blink and miss why Mank's relationship to her is at all important. Like, if you miss that one key thing that he's supposedly like writing her into the script as this other character, if you like blank out and miss that one scene, next second they're arguing, you'll be like, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
Why was she in the movie?
Yeah, and then you throw in like the mono audio mix that it's doing as well, and I found like, why am I not hearing or picking up a lot of this, and why are you making this decision but then not the decision to film in like 4:3 as well? Like how deep are you going in on the score and the change of the score and then the mono mix with the audio, but then you've still got like widescreen presentation as that as well. So I found like when I actually went to bed and put like Bluetooth headphones on and I was watching, that's how I ended up watching the movie. Like, I was like, I'm not picking up a lot of the audio here. Like, I felt like I was a lot more engaged. One, because it's headphones, no more distractions, but then I'm actually able to pick up everything, whereas I felt like a normal speaker system, like surround sound or even soundbar, I'm like, the mix is annoying here.
I turned it on, put my headphones on, as I always do when I watch anything, click play, watching it for 5 minutes, start like clicking all the buttons on my headphones going,
is this an echo?
Yeah, like what is wrong with this? And then I'm like, no, this must be the movie. So then, I open up the internet, I'll explore and like Google Mank audio, and then you find out that they mix it this way on purpose. But what you said, I never actually thought of. That's a good point. Like, why choose to do the mono mix or whatever the hell it's called? What's stereo, like basic stereo mix, whatever. Why choose to do that, but not all the other stuff? Like, there's so many weird flourishes. Like, also the script on screen, just random to me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, that has nothing. Like, other than going, well, he's writing a script. Thing. I know, but it's
also to set the time and place and that kind of stuff. I didn't find that issue. Isn't that similar thing in? Well, there's obviously transitions in Citizen Kane, but it's not exactly like that.
No,
obviously.
But I mean, like, why that flourish? Yeah. Why the audio flourish? Why choose to do all those things? Why choose? Yeah, why choose? Yeah, why add the cigarette burns? Why? And then why choose to shoot it black and white, and then why choose to have it still widescreen and everything else? Like, yeah, I kind of agree with Buddy. Like, if you should just committed and gone like fucking 4:3 and yeah,
I don't know. Maybe Netflix said that's the one thing where you need to go full screen.
Especially how they laid it out, because they did They also did like with the how they tell the story and having so many flashbacks, and it almost kind of mimics the structure and format of like Citizen Kane as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Mank, worth checking out purely to be in the discussion, I think. Buddy, obviously you said you watched Citizen Kane for the first time. Were your feelings on that? Is it a masterpiece?
I thought it was really good, and still relevant to kind of today's
oddly relevant.
Oddly relevant, and kind of, the whole media mogul and the Murdoch press and everything like that. And I kind of loved the idea that he was trying to use the newspapers as like an idea to stay truthful and be for the people, and this kind of conduit for that, and kind of this progression over time where he kind of loses sight of that and starts to use the paper as more of a vehicle for your own kind of political motivations and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I loved that, and I was very surprised at how it opened as well, with like the almost like narration over the top and the quick cuts going back and forth. I'm like, oh whoa, okay, this is pretty fast paced and full on with how they're kind of delivering in that regard with his death, and then the kind of that narration over the top, kind of give all this exposition at the start. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. This is really good. And and then I've obviously like looking up, reading about it after, and how like that wasn't really the norm, and they used to play the credits at the start, and how that's cut was kind of a more unconventional style. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So that was a big deal back then. Okay, so that's even more impressive, and at that time. So.
I definitely feel like you can't watch it now without doing a little bit of reading, or else you kind of won't appreciate it. Yeah. Especially if you're going to go in going, everyone says this is one of the greatest movies of all time, unless you actually know what made it so impactful at the time. Because I guess a lot of people expect it just to be the story or whatever, but there's just so many filmmaking techniques that we now take for granted that movie did or pushed and used for the first time. Like, even the lighting in that film is very cinematic to a degree that you normally wouldn't see. I think that's the number one thing that stood out to me when I watched it, is just how like it is older than a lot of movies, but it kind of looked like it was shot better than like stuff from like the 70s and 60s even that I've watched. You know what I mean? Like, just from a cinematic point of view.
Mm. And also the long shots that are in it as well, and how they weren't like super quick cuts that other movies were doing at the time. So yeah, I think even with I guess it really helps that the story is so impactful and relevant to today and makes sense to today, and having that, I think, is a good like through line for someone that's watching it now, like to get through the movie. Like, sometimes you can watch an older movie that maybe it's out of date with the context or ideologies now, that's kind of a bit dated, and it can really hurt the viewing experience. Was where I find if it's even more relevant to what's going on today, then it can kind of at least guide you through or be a little bit more impactful, because it shows that it hasn't dated, or if anything is more important now.
It's definitely in a year where we're signing Kevin Rudd's signatures to get the Murdoch media shut down, that movie definitely stands up.
Yeah, that's right. And that's one I watched recently as well for the first time, like Casablanca. And watching both of these movies, it's kind of like, oh, here we go. These are lauded as two of the great films of all time. I'm going to go in here and, am I going to watch this under those pretense and kind of see a masterpiece because I've been told to see a masterpiece, or am I going to be let down because of the lofty weight of expectations? And I feel with like, I've definitely had that in the past, watching movies like through that lens and like, oh, this is supposed to be great, but it's not clicking for me, and I don't see what's so great about it. And then the other kind of, you put the shoe on the other foot, and like with the, I guess, particular Citizen Kane and Casablanca especially, I'm watching both those movies, I'm like, oh wow, I can see what makes these awesome, because they are just great even without that kind of that context. I know it's hard to say that because it's subconsciously in the back of your mind, like, am I supposed to like this because I like film and this is great? But I feel like they both hold up on their own merit, and because what the story is delivering is still relevant now, even with like something like Casablanca.
I do feel like all those people that write those lists, like, top 100, and they put these movies on top, a lot of them probably went to film school where they had someone go, here's this movie, here's why you should care about it, here's like what made it impactful. So it's kind of unfair to get random Joe Schmo off the street, say, here, watch this movie, everyone considers a classic, without any of the pretense, when a lot of people who do rate these movies you're mentioning as like greatest of all time have had like the backstory half the time presented to them.
And I think you can watch that without going down, doing your research, instead of researching Casablanca or Citizen Kane, doing all before that, and then watching the movie, and then like, oh yeah, watching it as you kind of go, like, oh, this is why that's great, this here. It's the kind of the opposite. You watch and like, damn, that was good, and then you do the research and kind of all the influences and all the other subtext, whatever. And like, damn, that is really good, and now I know this. It's even knowing that, it elevates it even more, instead of seeing all that kind of discourse beforehand and then watching it and kind of going in with that kind of bias already.
I feel like you could do it for even more like semi-recent movies. Like, take Jaws, for example. The movie that a lot of people consider to be the first blockbuster of all time. Also had also did the first ever, I can't remember the name of the shot, but like where you move the camera back and you zoom in at the same time, like they did on the what's his face on the beach. Like, that's where that camera shot was.
Yeah, that dolly shot. I think that was done beforehand. That was like the
it was the one that like I think he did it first, but then like Jaws made that shot famous or whatever, then he kept doing it. So there's so many things from that movie, and I swear if he was to show a kid now, because they've seen fucking Avengers and all this other shit, they'll be like, it's a shark. Why does everyone consider this movie so good? And you'd have to be like, but at the same time, I feel like that it comes back to, you could probably someone could probably watch that. Maybe kids wouldn't love it as much because it's a fucking shark and it's not CGI, it's fast. But I would like to believe that movie is so good it would hold up, that people would get invested. Because when it comes down to it, if a movie's good, no matter the age, it'll probably keep you hooked. No difference in music or books or like. I feel like most art forms, it holds up. Most things.
The cream rises to the top. And there's a really good YouTube video you should try and seek out. I'm trying to remember who did it. It's from the YouTube channel Now You See It, and it's a whole like 4-minute video on the dolly zoom and how it's like more than just a cheap trick, and the origins of it, like within Vertigo and the other movies that have used it successfully. So if you're interested in that kind of more technical aspect, it's a really good YouTube video to watch.
Shout outs. That's probably one of my favorite camera
shots, tricks.
Yeah,
because it's cool. Have you ever just like shot it on your iPhone as well? Yeah.
I did. When I found out how to do it, I think I watched the special features of Jaws or something when I was in high school, and I found out how they did it, and I was like, fuck, I can do that myself. And I got my camera out on a tripod, and I just started doing it myself everywhere, and I was like, fuck. Because I was just like, when you watch it in a movie, like, it just seems like otherworldly when they're doing it, obviously. But then when you realize actually how it's done and how simple it's done, just by manually zooming in while taking the camera in the other direction, you're like, fuck, mind blowing.
That's great. Cool.
Yeah. So I look forward to talking about movies living up to the hype later in the episode. I will say, I think I just said this after Citizen Kane, but I would be very keen to see a Orson Welles film or miniseries.
Oh, movie, yeah.
Yeah, definitely something similar to this vibe, but, focusing on Orson Welles, because he's an interesting character from everything I've read. So I checked out the latest project from Ryan Murphy, The Prom, which is an adaptation of the musical of the same name, starring Meryl Streep, James Corden, Nicole Kidman, Keegan-Michael Key, Andrew Rannells, Ariana DeBois, Kerry Washington, and Joe Ellen Pellman. Follows 4 Broadway performers who are down on their luck and go to a Indiana high school to help a girl get a lesbian girl get her prom reinstated after the PTA cancels prom because they're homophobic, pretty much. Let's be honest. Wow. And they're doing it for like publicity purposes, not because they're, because they're narcissists a little bit.
PTA scared of lesbians and homosexuality. Typecast.
Yeah. I thought this was a lot of fun. Obviously, it is very silly and unrealistic. Andrew Rannells manages to convince a bunch of teenage kids to not be homophobic with one song.
Was that from the lunch table? Like when he's like, the Christians? It's like, you should all accept me, whatever. You commit all these other sins every now and then. Because Kim was watching in the background. I'm just like lying on the bed. I'm like, what is this? And then they all start storming off, and he like chases after them in song. And I'm like, you're not gonna change the mind of these hardcore Christians with this song. And he does.
He does. Yeah.
Power music.
Song. And it's catchy, that one. But yeah, obviously this movie's gotten a lot of criticism for James Corden's performance. Completely on the face of it, he does a fine job playing Barry Glickman, but Barry Glickman is a very camp gay man, and James Corden is very much not. So obviously a lot of think pieces have been written about straight people playing gay people, and whether James Corden should play this role. I think, to be perfectly honest, I feel like James Corden at this point is oversaturated in the market. It feels like he's got
he's not even in that much, is he? But you've had too much of him.
I've seen way too many carpool karaokes for me to just want to see James Corden ever again.
Yeah, he's got his own show like every other night. He's hosted the Tonys like the last 3 years. Let's see, he's voices Peter Rabbit.
I forgot about that. That's why I don't watch those movies. Most annoying rabbit ever.
He was in Cats.
I just don't like him. I just don't think he's that funny, to be honest. I really don't like James Corden for some reason.
So I used to like him. He did a show when he was still over a little nobody in Britain or whatever. He did a show called Gavin and Stacey, I think it was called.
Gavin and Stacey, yeah.
That was very good. And then he did a couple appearances in Doctor Who around the same point. Yes. And he was very good on that. And then when he came over and started hosting the whatever show, I was like, oh, James Corden, like I love him from Gavin and Stacey and Doctor Who. Sure, I'll check it out. And I liked it at first, but I swear, like over the years, he's like that personality that everyone knows him for now just got bigger and bigger. Like especially when that carpool karaoke shit started, and now I can't stand watching him at all.
Yeah, and like I'd seen James Corden trend recently, and I really didn't know why, and I could obviously tell, like just looking at some people's tweets and stuff, that like something has happened, but I didn't really like explore into it. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh, people are not liking James Corden. I'm like, oh fuck, people finally figured out he's not funny, thank God. So I had no idea what any of this controversy was about at all. So
no, yeah. How do you guys feel about? Again, us 3 straight people. How do you feel about straight people playing gay characters?
I'm fine with it. Like, gay people can play straight people as well. Like, I don't know. Depends what in context, and specifically where I guess with what you're saying and just my limited knowledge of the thing. Let's just get out of the way. I don't really know any of the discourse, but is it controversial because of how camp the character is and how outlandish?
I feel it's that, and it tells a very personal gay story to a lot of people, I would assume.
Yeah,
of, a person who was not accepted by their family and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so a little bit. Yeah, okay.
Without having watched it, I'm just going to say context is key, and like I have no problem with straight people playing gay people, like whatever. But if the reason everyone's complaining is because it's like the type of role and whatever. I'm going to say context is key, and not having watched it, I don't know. So I'd say case by case basis, depending. Like,
yeah.
But then again, that's just what I think. I could be completely off and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, really enjoyable. It was. I don't know how old Meryl Streep is meant to be in this.
She's super fucking young. She looks super young.
Yeah, she's been 65 and hot for like 20 years. So
yeah, I think she's meant to be like in her 40s, 50s. And she's trying to seduce Keegan-Michael Keel. So
yeah, I don't really like this version of Meryl Streep. I prefer like Big Little Lies, like evil grandmother Meryl Streep.
Okay, good to know.
Scary Meryl Streep.
Also, props to the young actress. What was her name again? Joellen Pellman, who was really good. Nicole Kidman is quite good in this, but she goes missing for like half the film. Like, she's there at the start.
Classic Kidman.
she goes with them to the town, and then she doesn't have a song until halfway through the movie. It's really odd,
Is this her first sing and song movie? She's done. Moulin Rouge, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I believe so. Can't think of anything else.
Interesting.
Was she in Australia? No, it's someone else.
She was in Australia, but that wasn't a musical.
Was it? Oh, who knows?
I haven't watched it.
Baz Luhrmann directed. Who cares?
Yeah, I haven't watched it.
It's got to be a musical, right? It's got to be music in it.
No.
I don't know.
His
best movie is Prom Dancing, and that was his first movie, I think. So
Strictly Dancing.
Yeah, that one.
Or
Strictly Ballroom was halfway there.
No.
Strictly Dancing. I'm like, what the fuck is Strictly Dancing?
It's Strictly Ballroom. I swear
yeah, Strictly Ballroom.
Yeah, that's his best movie.
That's what they called the dancing show after it or something.
Is that named after the movie? Fuck me.
Probably. Dylan, I've seen that you've been binging Big Mouth the last few days.
Yep, smashing through it. Great show. Wish I had more time to catch up on it sooner. It's happening now. Catching up now. Big Mouth is the show that I feel like everyone, when season 1 started, they watched the trailer and they were like, oh man, this is like fucking South Park. It's got like dirty jokes and shit and blah, 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 blah. But like as the show's like progressed, it's slowly just been having all these fuckboys having to like watch this very progressive cartoon that's like literally does whole episodes about Planned Parenthood and then has in-jokes about like people turning to the camera going, now I know a lot of you are going to ring and complain that we did an episode about Planned Parenthood, and like it does, lots of stuff to do with racism, sexism, equality, gender. Like, it's a very progressive show that's like hidden under the guise of a like South Park-ish, outlandish comedy show. And it somehow like this. I think the reason I like it so much is because for years you'd see people online going, oh, these left fuckers, these left-lean fucks, they're going to ruin comedy. We can't make jokes anymore. And Big Mouth is like the perfect example of a show that is both does like sort of boundary pushing jokes that people like you would hear in a South Park or something like that. Very outlandish, very scandalous jokes, lots of fucking like, I know it's a show about kids, but there's a lot of nudity and sex related.
I don't know how this show airs. I don't.
It's because they're all kids, but they're all voiced by adults. So, like, even when they're having weird sexual related things,
I think it's because of the character design.
Like, yeah, I mean, there's straight up dicks in this show. So, I mean, like,
there's straight up kid dicks.
Yeah, straight up kid dicks. But this is the perfect example.
There's a character that is one of the kids' vaginas.
Yep.
Prominent character.
So, yeah, I think the reason I like it so much is because it is like, imagine if South Park wasn't doing like, it was punching up, instead of punching down. Like this show is the perfect example of how you can do sort of that cringe humor to a degree, like outlandish dick humor, but also do it while also being progressive and not punching down. Like this show punches up for the most part. And then a lot of times the jokes are aimed at people where the jokes should be aimed. And even if there's like sort of line pushing jokes, they'll do it in a way that it sort of fourth wall breaks and is aware and like sort of goes like, we may have nearly done a racist joke, but we did it to teach you not to do the racist jokes to a degree. So I think it's very funny. I'm enjoying my binge of it. Looking forward to catching up. Is one big thing last season was like the casting, the voice talent, which they're changing this season. So, but they own that straight up. They're like, yeah, we had a white woman play the Asian character, whatever it was, wasn't it? That was the
No, it was Jenny Slate, a white woman, was playing Missy, the young black girl. But that's been recast. So season 4 just recently dropped. I did a catch up as well. I think I watched all of season 3, now season 4. Brilliant. Obviously in season 4, they at the end of season 3, I think they all go to camp. So season 4 picks up from that. Probably super relevant. They introduce a transgender character for a little while as one of the other campers. So that's like very progressive, definitely for a show of this type. But then again, they go the completely ridiculous route where Jessie, one of the young girls, goes into the lake wearing pads, and the pads subsequently suck up the entire lake. So there's massive bloody pads in them, like absorb the entire mass of water. So yeah, that's the kind of thing you're getting into.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix of just well. It's like it's so funny because like even in season 3 or whatever it is, where they're having I can't remember the character. I can't remember any of the characters' names. The one who's the kid who's bi. I like the fact that he just like has all these weird, like he goes through this season long thing of like fucking a pillow that's a guy and then fucking a pillow that's a girl and be like, well, I'm not gay. Like all this sort of shit. And then, but it's like, it's the season pays off with that great episode where there's a girl that comes into school and she's like, she walks in, hi, my name is da da da, and I'm pansexual, something like says all these random words, which they're sort of making fun of ultra or left, like over the top fucking people online, but they come in and then he's like, well, now's my chance, and he like comes out as bi, and his friends are like, of course they're straight away like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of weird now that you're bi, like, do you want to fuck us? He's like, why is it okay when it's the girl? Like, it's funny how they do like a season payoff for him. It does a lot of great jokes with him like wanting to fuck pillows, but then has this great payoff to like, why is it okay when girls are like, I'm bi, yeah, fuck yeah. Oh no, not guys. Get out. Yeah. Great show.
Yeah, it's a great show. I will say, really happy watching Maya Rudolph winning the best voiceover for playing the female hormone monster. Anytime she says bubble bath, I'm very happy. So, the delivery is brilliant. Yeah.
They're only 20-minute episodes, right? Or am I just...
I assume so.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I lose track of time.
I've been flying through this. I was about to say I'm flying for these episodes, but maybe then.
Before you move on to this, I want to say I'm really glad that Big Mouth is apparently getting better, because when it first dropped and there was all this like hoo-ha about it, I watched the first couple of episodes and I was like, this is the most vulgar, fucking terrible show of all time, and you're all sick fucks for liking it.
That's what I'm saying. So, I feel like it tricked them.
I'm like, I hate this. This is not funny. This is just cheap and fucking nasty, and I hate it. So I'm really happy to hear that it's actually doing something.
Because I thought the first season was okay. Of it to the point when season 2 dropped, I was like, maybe one day. Like, I didn't love it. And then when everyone kept talking about how great the last season was and everyone was super excited for this latest one, I was like, fuck it, maybe I'll give it a go. And then I've binged season 2 and 3 in like the last 48 hours. So my degree of going from, it was okay, to suddenly really liking it. And I think a lot of that is because the second and then third season, it's like we're doing all this ridiculous humor, but also like having the characters be a lot more interesting now and like bringing a lot more interesting storylines.
Obviously, the first season went for the largest audience possible, I think. And because of that, they were allowed to take risks with the subsequent seasons. So, and I feel like Nick Kroll, John Mulaney, and that all got much bigger in the years since Big Mouth started, so that helps as well.
Yep.
So Dylan, you checked out Arnie Dollar's Big Ol' House of Fun after Kieran talked about it last week.
This was absolutely bonkers, and I can't wait for more. I really don't know how you pitch anyone on this show. It is probably look, you know what this made me think? It made me go, fuck, I'm pissed off that the Australian government, like back in the day, we may have seen this on at SBS at 10 o'clock at night and would have been funded by like a Film Vic or some shit. But it kind of annoys me that I can't get weird shit like this just on like normal TV anymore. Anyway, that's a whole thing. But this is super Australian in a good way. I would like to know how a lot of this humor handles internationally, because a lot of it is very just straight up sort of dumb Australian humor. it's like a skit show combined with, I don't know, like there is like a through line kind of, but there's not really. It's mainly just 4 dudes inside this house. And then they'll just have random segment after random segment. There's random guest people that show up, like Weird Al Yankovic in one episode. I was telling Ash this morning about this one segment that was made me crack up laughing, where it has Anthony Starr from
The Boys.
The Boys in it. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is he in this show? And then there's a whole segment where Ed Helms turns up because apparently he's the executive producer of the show. And they do a whole segment where he's like, they're like, hey, Ed Helms. And there's like 4-4 breaking. They're having a whole meeting with him. He's like, wait. My name's Ed, guys. It's like, what? No, your IMDb says your name's Ed Helms. No, my name's Egg Helms. What, you telling me they've got it wrong for all this time? It's really dumb humor. So a lot of it's down to the delivery. Every episode opens with a song and may have like another song in it, but the songs are really dumb, like sort of Fly to the Conchords, but not musically as good, but also just sort of that some of their really dumb level of songs where like there's one of the opening songs is literally them singing about drinking brown liquid in the morning, and it goes for like 2 minutes, and then the payoff is just them going, it's fucking coffee. I'm like, okay, yep, sure. It's so random. The first episode opens with them singing this song about having to find a new housemate because they got to kick out their talking washing machine. No, they're talking dishwashing machine, which is voiced by I can't remember her name. The girl from Fly the Conchords, like the super fan. I think it's
Kristen Schaal.
Yeah, like she's the voice of the thing. Which I'm like, why? Like, why is she voicing this? Like, how do they have so many people that are recognizable in this show? It is dumb, but like smart at the same time. I don't know. I very much enjoyed it. I watched it I think I watched all 8 episodes in a row. I couldn't get enough of it. Every time one would finish and the theme song would start playing, where it's just going, hope you like our fucking show, and if you don't like it, get fucked. And then it would start playing next episode. I'm like, well, fuck. I
don't want to get fucked.
Yeah, like, I'm in. I'm like, this show is just, it is definitely hitting my, like as someone who likes, what do you call it? So I was a big Mighty Boosh fan, and whatever you would call like hyperrealism comedy and stuff. Because like straight away in that first episode where they're like, okay, there's like a talking dishwasher and all this sort of stuff. I know some people that turns them off, where they're like, this like it's the second you get into weird shit like that. I know a lot of people just can't find it funny anymore or whatever. I'm very hit or miss depending, but I was totally down for this because they just kind of hit you over the head with it straight away, and you either buy into it or you don't buy into it. I mean, there's a whole segment where they're like literally doing a song about sneaking a snack in the middle of the night, and they're just whispering the entire time. They're like, like one guy is out grabbing something from the fridge, and then he's like, I'm just trying to sneak this little snack. And then someone comes down, he's like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to sneak this. I don't know. This is dumb, but I love it. I can't wait. I want more. It was great.
Awesome.
10 out of 10. I laughed a lot.
Are you disappointed that you just called Anthony Starr from The Boys and not Banshee?
Oh, no. I was saying whatever people would know him more from, but he's always my boy from Banshee. Yeah.
All right. That's everything that we're watching. Let's move into the news. And there is only one news story we can kick things off with. Warner Brothers announced that they will be releasing their entire 2021 slate on both in cinemas, but also on HBO Max day and date. So here is a list of all the films from Warner Brothers Studios, Warnermedia, that are set to come out in 2021.
June.
What? The little things.
Starting in January.
Yeah.
You'll start in The Little Things, Judas and the Black Messiah, Tom and Jerry, Godzilla and Kong, Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Space Jam: A New Legacy, The Suicide Squad, Reminisce, Malignant, Dune, The Many Saints of Newark, King Richard, Cry Macho, and The Matrix 4. So what? 17 films, I believe, off the top of my head. Massive news. What were your guys' first reactions to seeing that blow up on Twitter? Obviously, as Australians, it really doesn't make a massive difference, but what were your initial reactions?
They're making a Tom and Jerry?
They've made a Tom and Jerry.
Wow.
Like how we're breaking news with Buddy. Like, as he was reading, he was like, I saw his face go.
It's
like,
got Chloe Grace
Moretz. Oh, yeah. Fuck. Movie of the year.
Could be.
Stop the Fight. Stop the count. It's over.
You can watch it on HBO Max.
I will not be. I'll be in the cinema like a purist. A lot of fucking animal, Dylan.
Nah, it's alright. Look, again, most of these stories, I'm like, okay, does that mean they're coming to cinemas here? And the answer is going to be, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. That's what I want. If they were like, if they did a thing where they're like, okay, HBO has a deal with Foxtel in Australia, so now the only way you can watch all these movies is to pay a subscription to Foxtel. Like, this is the worst. This is the dark timeline. If that was the case, I would be spitting chips over here. You know, like, I'd be frothing, ready to go for it. But the fact is, they're going to come out on cinemas here, so I really don't give a fuck. And considering America is still just fucked as of recording and probably as the release of this episode.
Gigantic petri dish.
Yeah. I think this is the safest move that they could have made to continue business internationally and then also safely inside the places where COVID is more prominent. So I thought this was a good news story. I thought this is like, yes, that's the decision you should probably be making, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, amazing news for fans, for people who enjoy films and that kind of thing. As an Australian, it's great that they're not going to move these dates. They're setting the dates. These movies are going to come out. They're not going to get pushed because there's suddenly another flare-up in America. There's a 16th wave that their vaccine doesn't work, and the rest of us are all screwed. So there's definitely going to be movies to watch in cinemas all year, which is really good. Just looking at box office numbers, there's been a steady increase each week on weekly gross for cinemas, which is good, especially when there isn't a blockbuster film available to watch at cinemas at the moment. There probably won't be till obviously Wonder Woman will be the one that you would think would get people into the cinemas. The fullest cinema experience I've had since I've come back, going back to cinemas, was this weekend. I went and saw the Liverpool documentary, Liverpool Football Club documentary. That was pretty full, but that was mostly like Liverpool.
Was
fans.
It just a bunch of people in the back saying, fucking drunk?
Yeah.
No? That's how I just imagine football fans.
It was like 100 people drinking warm beer.
Yeah, but apparently, by doing this, HBO Max has pissed off every other person in the filmmaking industry, because apparently they didn't tell anybody about their plans. They just announced it and said, fuck everybody.
I don't think they need to. I'm just going to put that out there right away.
Really? You don't think they need to tell anybody?
Shareholders, stakeholders, people that are signed with them.
Publishing partners.
Anything like that? No.
I highly doubt all the people. I assume the people who
consult these people
know,
as well. People that are also going to be impacted by return on investment and investment opportunities and money.
I don't know. I don't think they would have done it if they needed to actually tell people the decisions.
Well, I'll kick things off here. Legendary is set to sue Warner Brothers to stop them from releasing Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune on HBO Max. Apparently they provided 75% of the net budget for both films. And we're told, even I think last episode we said Netflix was looking to buy
that's right.
Godzilla vs. Kong for $250 million. And Warner Brothers obviously shut that down. So they could put it on their own streaming service. Yeah. I feel like obviously that's been a major sticking point. Just the no warning whatsoever. Everybody freaking out. Obviously nobody knowing what's going to happen. Also exacerbated by apparently the Wonder Woman team were informed of their plans. They had that all planned out. They got paid. Apparently Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins got paid $10 million each for both their back end stuff that they wouldn't get, but also to talk positively about the process. I don't know if that second bit is confirmed, but that could be a thing. But obviously, anybody and everybody's been talking about this. Probably Christopher Nolan has been the one that's gotten the most headlines.
Biggest video game fan. Loves video games.
Yeah.
Don't know if you know.
Loves video games, loves Fast and Furious. It's crazy. So he came out and said the best quote, I think, of the entire thing.
So good.
Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find they were working for the worst streaming service. Great line. Yeah. Jeez. So, Dylan, you think Warner Brothers didn't need to tell everybody?
I don't know what they needed
not to tell anybody.
No, I'm just saying. I assume they wouldn't have done it if they thought they were breaking any legal terms. Like, I just don't think they would have done it if they it's a big ass move. I highly doubt they would have done it if there was any actual legal ramifications that could be done. Do I think they should have told everyone? Yeah, probably. But I'm just saying from the point of view of did they have to? I'm just going to assume that they didn't have to tell everyone, or else they would have probably told people. Like, there's no way they're making such a big move if it's legally going to come back to bite them in the ass. I just find that hard to believe.
Just because it's from a legal standpoint doesn't mean you long-term damage your reputation and relationships with all those people as well. So it's not even from an ethical standpoint. It's from like a managing those relationships and not potentially burning bridges that you've had years of, collaboration with and made money with people and all those kind of things. Like, I think from that perspective.
Who's making this decision though? Like, how many people are making this decision is what I want to know. Because it's one of those things to be like, so we woke up and like someone pressed go, like, but how many people did this pass through? We don't really know. I just, and to a degree, I'm very much of the, like, after months, nearly a year of just all these movie companies being like, I don't know what we're fucking going to do to survive, and, the cinemas are dying, all this sort of stuff. Like, to a degree, I'm finally happy that just one of them's just like, you know what, fuck it. This is what we're doing. Like, here's a plan of action. Compared to all these other ones that are like, well, we're still hoping cinemas will open. Like, America's not opening all their cinemas anytime soon, right? Probably not for nearly all of 2021. You got to start planning. Got to start making moves. So, like, can I say, no, I don't have a fucking business degree. I can't say for sure if this is the smartest move, but just from a consumer watching the industry point of view, I'm just like to see someone actually do something. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. But also when Christopher Nolan says that quote, I'm like, yeah, fuck them. Like, I'm just like, I'm just enjoying it from a thing. I'm like, yeah, go Warner Brothers. Yeah, fuck Warner Brothers. I don't know.
I guess we're free to.
I'm just a pundit enjoying the fight on the sidelines. Like,
we can just view from the sidelines because really, it really doesn't affect us that much because we're still going to have to pay $12 to go to the cinema to watch these films anyway.
I'm just sick of how up its own arse the American film industry is with its like domestic importance and how much important the domestic dollar is. And I know it's a big market, but wow, sometimes when you look at the earnings of a film internationally compared to its domestic takings and not maybe taking that into perspective and maybe using the international model or how you distribute that and maybe giving it more importance instead of, let's delay the movie everywhere, blah, blah, instead of releasing it in... markets or regions that you're able to release to. And I know there's always that like piracy concern, spoilers concern. Once it's out there, it's out there, it ruins the experience. But then for it to be thrown onto a streaming service and a streaming service that Warner Brothers own as well. And I'm like, okay, if they own this, I'm not sure how the corporate structure is and the umbrella that's under. They're not really getting any money from putting it on their own streaming service outside of like subscriptions and everything. Like, how do you return the money on the cost of, production, distribution and all that kind of stuff? And then, just, I guess, wages, not just of actors, writers and all that kind of stuff in grips and hands and all that behind the scenes. Like, how do you return on investment on that when you own the streaming service instead of like possibly putting it to tender and maybe selling it to a Netflix or selling it to someone else? Like, if you're a shareholder and you like, or an interest party that doesn't have some kind of interest in actual HBO Max itself and the money that it gets, but you are of like intrinsically like linked to the film and how much money it makes outside of this structure where they'll chuck it on the streaming, we get more streaming money because people sign up or whatever. Like, there's no kind of clear cut money, residuals, and how those people make their money. Like they've kind of invested here. Whereas HBO is like, we're going to get, Warner, we own this. They're going to get all the money. Like I could be totally speaking out of my ass, but this is just like one of the things that I kind of thought of. Like maybe you could sell it to Netflix. Maybe you could not put it on the streaming service. Maybe you could sell it for $20. And I don't even know how that model is going to be working. Is it going to be streaming day one? Do you have to pay extra? Is it just you have a sub?
It's going to be you get a sub and you get to watch everything.
So then it's like, okay, well...
Oh, no. So they'll only be available on the streaming service for 30 days. That's the other caveat. So from day of release for 30 days, it'll be on the streaming service. After that, it goes... and then I assume we'll go to video on demand whenever that...
and then if you're an investor that isn't getting any of the residuals from HBO Max and it being streamed there, and because usually you'd get maybe you get gate tickets or anything else of that kind of stuff, then shouldn't it be put to Netflix, or shouldn't it be like you have to pay $20 even though it's available? It's not on the streaming service, or some other kind of model where you could make more money out of it that you would have made. Like to me, it is like, it's great that they're being adaptive for this time and making this move, but from like the long-term ramifications of, all right, we can do this. This worked pretty good for us. Let's just do this for the future. So, maybe like we get to go see it at the movies, but then maybe that helps kill or drop down cinema rates, and other studios start picking up this distribution model because all of a sudden it works, they make more money, or they have less costs involved, but then other people that are involved in the making of lose out that normally would get money or return on investment when it does go to cinema or home video as well. How many people are going to buy
Blu-ray?
The Blu-ray, when are they going to release it? The Blu-ray, the 4K, all that kind of stuff. So the whole distribution model is like up in the air, and I'm like wondering about the long-term ramifications of that and how that affects everywhere. Not just Warner Brothers, we distribute it, we pay here, and now it's on our own service, that type of thing. So that's the thing that like kind of interests me, but then also I guess, just what the ramifications are for everybody, not just Warner Brother makes it, they want to make money, chuck it on our service, more people sign up, they get the money. What does that mean for everybody else? And then what does that do to all the other studios that see it? Can they just do this? Maybe it's not as successful and they don't make a huge amount of money, but maybe they don't lose money. So then that's the model going forward, and then it changes the whole landscape together. So that's probably my biggest worry, even though we will still go get to see it all at the cinema. The release dates won't be changed or anything like that. Even in America, I guess they're going to be day and date, but depending on how their climate is.
How many cinemas are open.
And how many screens are getting it. So,
tell you what.
That's the thing that goes through my mind, like, what's the bigger picture of this move?
All eyes will be on China.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% think so, yeah.
Like I said, the highest grossing film from this year is the 800 at $461 million. That film has primarily made that money in China. And then again, like you said about domestic, for the top 6 films of last year, they're all about 35% of their gross was from domestic.
Domestic,
the other 60 something is international. So obviously international is a huge market, but again, the general international market is not the greatest at the moment. So what? This past week, the highest grossing place was China, made $28 million in theaters. Australia is like the 5th highest. We only made like $849,000 in cinemas over the weekend. When
there's nothing out though, to be fair.
There's nothing out, but like earlier in the year, it was 17 million, like in a week. So.
Bad Boys.
Yeah, Bad Boys. Just sticking in there.
I
guess the other interesting one, obviously Dune was set to be hopefully the first in a massive franchise. Without box office numbers, do you expect to see a Dune sequel? Do they commit to one?
I don't know. I feel like Warner Brothers, like, this is one of those things, like, if you want to talk about like shareholders and like all this sort of stuff, surely there has to be meetings taking place for the next like year or two of people going, look, the expected numbers of these movies have to be brought down. Like, there's no way around it, right? So, if every movie that comes out like Dune, it's like, it underperforms of what it would have in a like 2019 climate or something like that. If it doesn't do as much as they would have expected to do then, I feel like everyone has to be sort of adjusting their expectations and not being so much like, well, it didn't do enough, no Dune sequel. You kind of have to adjust your expectations, surely. So, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say what... and will we even be able to tell if a movie like Dune actually does well is the other thing? Like, because it used to be able to tell very easily. Like, okay, well, it did this much domestically, internationally.
It made
like
more than its budget.
Its budget was this. Okay, it did well. Like, are we still going to have, like, these parable stats, these metrics? Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Especially when you consider Netflix doesn't show any of the numbers as to why certain things are cancelled or not cancelled. So, yeah, we get more of that of being completely in the dark. So, yeah.
Although we get the big numbers when Bird Box debuted 2 years ago, like X amount of people watched Bird Box and streamed it. I'm like, are we going to get those numbers?
They only give out stats service when it does well, which is kind of like how PlayStation's like, we've shipped X amount of consoles or whatever, but they never tell you fuck all else. Yeah.
How many?
Be interesting to see the critical reception to these movies now, especially if critics are watching these streamed. Like, I know they critics get a lot of screeners and stuff like that anyway that they'll watch at home.
That's only award season though. Like, it's a certain period of the year. Like, a lot of time,
it's massive blockbuster films.
Yeah, like a lot of the big critics in the world live in LA because that's where you'll get to go to all the big premiere, like early, like you go to, a lot of them live there because they go to these early access cinemas. So I think most of the time they are watching on a big screen.
But then you think about like word of mouth as well, and just the I guess something we've seen with in the video game landscape recently with Cyberpunk, and how like, oh, the game's fucked. Okay, less people buy it. All of a sudden, more people have access to the movie because it's free or available on the streaming service, and then maybe the word of mouth will get out quicker. Maybe more people are likely to watch it then and sign up. But then I guess the opposite, because the barrier of entry is lower. But then the opposite happens. It's like almost diminished immediately.
Yeah,
if it is bad.
Whatever his name is, I can't remember his name. Struckman on YouTube or whatever did a video recently.
Chris Stuckman.
Yeah, where he's like talking about how not going to the cinema has definitely impacted his thoughts on movies. He was like comparing two Christmas. Yeah, it's like comparing two Christmas movies and being like, I watched one in the cinema and it was so much more of an enjoyable experience. But you watch another one at home and it's just and.
No, the thing he said that was interesting was obviously he watched Happiest Season at home, which he enjoyed more. He watched Last Christmas, the Emilia Clarke film from last year in cinemas. Well, didn't like it as much, but remembered that experience.
Yeah, that was it.
Whereas he didn't remember the Happiest Season streaming experience.
Yes, and so I think I can relate a lot to that, and it's something that I feel like we often bring up on this show the last years. Is always like the cinema experience is special, and like I don't think I would ever want that to go away, obviously. And there's definitely like you can't even like pinpoint it. Like even if a movie's bad,
it's the popcorn.
I don't get popcorn, so I don't know. Like it's because it's definitely something
the smell
that
of popcorn.
Yeah, maybe over the years, like I know, like my dad, for example, has been like, why would I go to cinema so much? I got like a fucking 60-inch TV and like surround sound, and I'm always like, it's still not the same as the cinema experience. Like there's just something about going in there, not like getting forced to not look at your fucking phone, the lights going out, just you being entrenched in that full-on experience, just having to zone in on the movie. And I know, like, I see people online go, well, you could just not look at your phone. But it's like when you're at home, it's like you hear a knock or you're like, oh, maybe I hear a knock. Was the mailman there? Like, you're like, there's always like, even if you're not thinking about it, like I feel like there's always some sort of distraction, or like even the fact that I can be like, oh, I'm just going to pause and go make some food now, or like I do that and I don't really want to, but I just can't help myself sometimes. So like there's definitely something special about the movie experience. And I would say that critics getting to watch stuff in the cinema and having to zone in does make a difference to sitting at home watching on your TV, even if you've got a fantastic fucking projector room set up. Even if you have that, I still just don't think it's the same. Even like the communal aspect, right? So a lot of these if you want to talk about like critics, like a lot of these critics they go to these screenings together, right? The premieres they go, and then like us, like anyone, they leave, they talk, like They digest. They think, talk to other people. They think
sit in the car park for like 10 minutes after the film around their cars holding their keys.
Yes, talking
about what they liked and disliked.
Exactly, yes. And but where obviously if you're watching at home, it's like you miss a big chunk of that. So, it's definitely a good point we're bringing up.
Yeah, maybe those people should just start a podcast.
Yeah. The other interesting thing that you mentioned in that video is if they've got day and date streaming, the people who are just going to the cinema to watch the film but don't really treat the cinema like their home won't come to the cinema anymore.
Yeah.
So that will make the cinema experience better for the people who go to the cinema to enjoy their cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get rid of those punks that are fucking on their phone, making noise and doing all that shit. Like, get rid of them. They're fucking garbage. Trash people.
Yeah. So, I guess predictions. And start of 2022, is Warner Brothers still doing day and date releases on HBO Max?
2022. I honestly could not say. Like, I can't, after this year, I don't know. I don't even know. What the fuck is 2021 going to look like? I don't even know.
I'm going to say no. I reckon by then, the vaccine or whatever, all this kind of stuff is a little bit more under control, even in places like America. Hopefully, surely. And I think there will be enough money left on the table when it comes to cinemas. And it might be a point where cinemas will have to, there'll be more give and take with whatever the rates are, with whatever, renting a screen or whatever, whatever the distribution model is, like how much cut there is.
Like they take, it's like a 50-50 split. So
so maybe there'll be more of an incentive to keep that industry open if it does suffer with the kind of this Warner Brothers thing and the HBO Max streaming deal, that maybe that will be renegotiated at a la something similar we've seen with like the iOS store and Apple and Fortnite and even Epic Game Store taking less of a cut and being a more desirable place for developers to put their games. Maybe we'll see that inverse or change for cinemas as well.
Okay. And do you think Warner Brothers is going to be affected negatively by the film industry? Are less people going to be inclined to cut a deal with Warner Brothers going forward?
I think from the top echelon of directors and actors and those kind of more, I make art instead of I just am an actor and make films, maybe. But then the other thing might be some of the, I guess, the lower tier or middle people that they might be able to pick up more roles and get, it might be a bit more lucrative for those people as well.
Yeah.
He was talking about Fast and Furious versus something like Transformers when comparing.
I think most people would say that's the same.
No. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I mean, look, the only thing I'll say for this is, piracy starts. Everyone's like, oh, this is the end of cinema. Everyone's just going to pirate movies now. Didn't end cinema because so many people were like, I don't want to pirate shit. I want to watch the fucking real movie on the cinema screen. So I think, like, carrying on that mentality, I still think there's a lot of people who feel that way and would have that feeling. So I just don't. Only time will tell, but I do think that even if you have this like streaming weird scenario where it's like 18 months we're living in this weird scenario where stuff's going day and date or whatever, I just think it's going to revert back to normality eventually, and everyone's just going to go, yeah, cool. That's what we wanted. Fine, whatever. And there'll be a few key people like Greg Miller online complaining that he can't watch fucking the next DC movie and he has to go to the cinema or whatever. And like, I'm only calling him out because I know he's someone who's like, just let me watch everything at home. And I know there's a lot of people who are gonna be like that, but I think for most people, they'll be like, yeah, cool. I want it back to normal. That's what I want. Don't care. I want to go to cinema.
And that piracy argument as well, I think that's a little bit sometimes overstated. And even I said it before about the piracy, but there are people that are going to pirate things no matter what. Regardless, maybe there might not be a spike in piracy because I feel like that's already the mentality of the people that are never going to go to the cinema anyway, or they are going to wait till it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD and still pirate it and never buy stuff. So,
yeah, I think, it's going to be an interesting 12 months to see how this all pans out.
Let's see what the other studios do.
Yeah,
Shadow Drop tomorrow.
Imagine.
So not some other studios come out,
and not like actual good movies, not like what was it? The what was a Cloverfield film?
Oh yeah, Paradox.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
That was a shadow drop.
Oh shit ass.
Bond is not delayed, people. Coming to a streaming service near you.
If I have to watch it, no.
2 weeks time.
See, if they were like, "Oh, it's coming out in 2 weeks time," or "It's coming out 2 months from now for cinema," I'd be like, I think I'm just not watching Bond, I guess, for 2 months until I can watch it on a fucking cinema. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So Disney had their massive Disney Investor Day, where they announced a bucket load of projects and things they're working on. We're not going to talk about. Well, we can. Me and Dylan talked about all the Marvel Studios projects on the latest episode on All New Marvel Cast, which you can find in the show notes below. If you want to, definitely worth subscribing to if you want to know anything about the MCU. Buddy, was there anything amongst that batch that caught your interest?
No, Marvel suck. Disney, I hate him. Let's.
This is gonna be a fuck send, man.
No, I couldn't even tell you what was announced. Like right now from the Marvel side of things. I don't know. I'm not really too invested in that. I saw more of the Star Wars kind of stuff that was announced. Like some of that kind of piques my interest. And then
I was going to say, before diving in, I just wanted to say how funny I thought this. No, I'm not going to attack Buddy's Marvel opinions. I'm well aware of what they are.
Yeah.
I just say how funny this Disney Investors thing was, because I feel like a lot of people woke up that morning and had no idea what was going on, and then suddenly like, what the fuck's happening? Where like they do this every year, but this was the biggest one because they didn't have a D23 or anything like that. They hadn't had Star Wars Day, like they hadn't already announced a bunch of stuff, and because
they haven't had Comic-Con, they had no opportunity.
So they hadn't announced a bunch of stuff, and because it was the yearly Investors Day, it's like all of a sudden we knew the lid was going to come up.
You need to tell them what you're spending the money on.
Yeah, I think I said to Ash like a couple days before, I'm like, by the way, a whole heap of news is going to break in a couple days, and it's like, why? I'm like, Investors Day, man, like. They haven't announced shit. Like, all this stuff's going to happen. Like, and I found it so funny. All these people watching up, and they're like, because I saw some people watching the stream, being like, what the fuck is this? Why is it like, because obviously it is an investor stream, so it was told with a lot of market lingo because it is target. I know a lot of people were watching it as a like Comic-Con like video. It was an investors show that was targeted towards investors and the public.
And you didn't know that after the Marvel stuff, they had the financial lady come out and explain things for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of...
Everyone walked in thinking it was the PlayStation 5 reveal event in June and ended up with the Mark Cerny
basically.
teardown talk.
Because I saw a lot of people being like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, I don't know what you think you tuned into. But like even in because it's the public investors thing, like every now and then, they would cut away for like a minute or two for the public video would cut off feed and it would only be showing the rest of the video to... like already
the actual investors,
actual investors. So
actual shareholders,
yeah. So I just thought it was very interesting to see so many people because I remember watching it like last year or like having on like whatever it was in the background. I can't even remember if anything notable happened then from memory, but like just seeing so many people this year because like Disney hadn't had anything happen for so long. So many people were tuning into this investors meeting. I just found it hilarious. So many people were watching a fucking investors meeting.
You know what they should have done, Dylan? They should have ignored the shareholders and the stakeholders and just said what they're going to do. Not consulted them.
Yeah. So I guess we'll touch on the Lucasfilm stuff first. Star Wars announced a bunch of series coming to Disney Plus. First off, they announced spin-offs to The Mandalorian, both Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka. Dylan, you're a mess. Obviously, we've talked about Mandalorian over on The Mandalorians, our Mandalorians after show. Specifically, we said the episode in which Ahsoka finally showed up. You said it felt like a backdoor pilot. Turns out it kind of was.
Turns out I'm a prophet. Yeah, look, but both of these announcements just were. If I'm ordering the 10 announcements, both of these, even as like Ahsoka's my favorite Star Wars character, these two are probably on the bottom of the pile, to be honest. I don't know what the Ahsoka is. The Ranger show doesn't sound too interesting because I'm like, is this just a cop show in space? At which point, fuck the police. I don't know. Like, why do I care? Like, what am I supposed to be intrigued by this? The one thing that does interests me with both these shows is when they spoke about it in the investors presentation, and then in the StarWars.com blog post, if you look through that, they talk about how both shows are basically leading to an event. So to a degree, I think what's actually happening here is Jon Favreau, which I'll point out for people who aren't aware, people forget, he did actually kind of start the MCU, right? He Iron Man and Iron Man 2 and being around that whole point. Like people kind of don't give him enough props for being around during that whole part. I think he's starting his own mini Star Wars universe where you're going to have the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, this Ranger show, and they're going to cross over a lot. And then potentially there's going to be a event series at some point, because that's the way they were talking about it. They were talking about all these shows like they're going to connect, going to cross over. I don't think the fact they're connecting is a big deal because like everything in Star Wars connects at this stage to a degree. But it seems like there's going to be 3 shows connecting timelines leading to a big potential bad guy event where I guess Mando, Ahsoka, the Ranger dude, which by the way, I hope the Ranger dude is what's his face from who's been in the show last couple that dude. I hope it's starring him. Yeah, that's how I feel about these, and not blowing my socks off because look, The Mandalorian's a fine show, but it's not close to being as interesting as a lot of these other ideas are to me personally.
Yeah. Then they showed the first trailer for The Bad Batch, and this surprised you, Dylan. The
Bad Batch, yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like they're going to be Empire associated.
Yeah, so
clone troopers.
The Bad Batch, for people who don't know, was the first 3 or 4 episodes of the Clone Wars season 7. I think that was the last one. I can't remember. Whatever the final season was that aired early in this year.
Just the final season.
Yeah. Because it's weird because they did, there's like season 6 or 7 or whatever it is. Then they did the Lost episodes. They released the ones after it got cancelled, and then they came back and did the final episodes. But I'm like, the Lost episodes are technically a weird timeline. Anyway, Bad Batch was like, so they sort of backdoor piloted this at the start of this final season of Clone Wars. It's 4 clones who have had sort of genetic modifications to a degree. So like they all have certain, not like full superpowers, but like one of them's like kind of strong. Another one's like a really good like pot shot sniper. One of them's like super smart or some shit. Like it's not super, like they got superpowers, but they're just like sort of genetically modified to a degree that it works within Star Wars. And they were real fun when they were introduced at the start of last season. So now they're doing this spin out show. And this had been rumored for a long time. It was one of the ones that turned out to be true. And I always thought this was going to be a case of they were just going to explain how they managed to take out their chips, which in case you don't know, in Star Wars, they explained Order 66 happened because all the clones have these chips inside their heads. And when Palpatine says Order 66, it like triggers the chips, which makes them all just suddenly change. Like, and that's why they follow all these orders. So they did explain that if you take their chip out, that's how certain clones throughout the series, a couple like Rex managed to escape. So I thought the Bad Batch was going to have the chips taken out, but when they showed this trailer, it turns out that no, they're still working for they're working for the Empire. So this show is actually going to be from the point of view of the Empire. Like you see Grand Moff Tarkin in it telling them that they did a great job. Looks super interesting. I think there's a part in it where you could actually see Fennec from, I think it's Fennec from The Mandalorian, which would be a cool crossover to see that character show up in this timeline. And then like more or less this is basically the Clone Wars continued, but into the Empire period now. So it's more or less just more Clone Wars. It looks beautiful. The animation, like that high caliber stuff we had in the last season. And I love at the end of the trailer, they even had like the Clone Wars title card logo show up and then like burns down. It comes up the Bad Batch just to show like the change and stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you like the Clone Wars, I feel like you're going to be watching this, but it would also be a good jumping on point if you just want to watch like animated Star Wars show without having to do a bunch of backstory stuff.
Yeah. This would be the first thing focused from the side of the Empire.
Kinda. Like a full show focused on the side of the Empire. Yes, they have technically dabbled in that.
Done books and comics. And
no, fuck off. In is that how I sound? No. In Star Wars. What the fuck was that? The one they did 2 seasons of, the animated one.
Forces of Destiny?
No. I can't remember the fucking name of it. It was the one that was basically set between Force Awakens and
Resistance?
Yeah, Resistance, right. So in that one, spoilers for Resistance, the two main characters, one of them is like a good person on the rebel side. One of them is just like a random civilian who gets like halfway through the first season, ends up getting picked up by the First Order. And then the show tracks that person and how they would get twisted to become and work for the First Order from like a sort of a civilian standpoint of how the First Order would make you believe in their cause. So she was one of the main characters, and that was one time they sort of dabbled in having a main character that was part of the bad group.
Cool. Then we've got they showed a bit of behind the scenes stuff from them shooting Star Wars Andor, the Diego Luna project. Looks like it's going to be a cool spy thing set in the Star Wars universe, so that's something to look forward to. Shot completely on location, like they're building full on sets and everything. You know?
My favorite thing about that, like I'm all about this. I love his character cussing. Like when you watch Rogue One for the first time, when the movie starts and he straight up kills someone, you're like, "Fuck, okay then." Like we're going there. But my favorite thing about that announcement was the fact that he's on board as executive producer. I'm like, okay, cool. Like because Diego Luna, when he did the Rogue One press tour, he always seemed. You can't tell actors sometimes. Of course, their job is to like be excited about the thing they're promoting, and like that's part of the job to a degree. But
that's part of the job.
Yeah, but he always seemed super like into his character and talking about Rogue One. So the fact he's on board now as an executive producer, I'm like, I think he was just legit all about his character and everything.
He's putting his money where his mouth
is.
Yeah. So we got some more confirmation about the Russian doll creators Leslie Headland's Star Wars series. It's called The Alkalites, and it is going to be set in the High Republic era. So completely different to anything we've seen before. Obviously, they just launched the High Republic, I want to say this year.
No, it comes out like early next year,
Early next year. So I guess, are you excited to see something set in a completely new space? And then I know the High Republic stuff was being touted as completely separate to everything else so they could have their own universe to play in for a little while. It was surprised they're jumping into that so quickly.
No, I'm all about this. This is probably top 3. This is top 3 announcements for me. So new, not just new area of Star Wars, but a brand new area of Star Wars. So High Republic is something that they announced about like 2 years ago. No, it was last year. So yeah, where they got this whole group of writers together from comics and books and everything, and was like, hey, come up with something brand new. And it kicks off with some novels and some comics and all this other stuff. So the fact that they're doing a TV show that's set in the period, I think proves this is what they need to be doing. Because I hate sometimes how they were like, well, everything's connected, but also like there's levels of how much you want to care about Star Wars. And I'm always like, look, if you want to make everything connected, just fucking go all in. And like the fact they're making a TV show in a new period of Star Wars that was only going to have books and comics. And now they're like, here's a TV show as well. I'm like, good. You're taking it serious. Like you're developing this new time period, and maybe people watch the show and then they read the books. Like that's the sort of cross promotion stuff you should be doing. From a just show standpoint, this name gets me super excited because it basically screams like dark force power type shit to me. Like, seems like potentially a dark, not like a dark Jedi, but like a dark force user of something. Is what it sounds like to me. That sounds super intriguing. So I'm all about this one.
Okay. Then they announced that in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series starring Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen will be returning to play Darth Vader. This one made you happy, didn't it?
This is my favorite announcement. This is my favorite announcement of the whole thing. At one stage they called us prequel apologists. Nowadays I think everyone hates The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker more than the prequels. So I think you just get away with liking the prequels now, and it's like no one even cares anymore. Like, whatever, that's fine. But I think, like I was saying to Ash when they announced this stuff, I'm like, it's hilarious to me how the prequels have, like, all the people who were once hated and booed off stage have slowly crept back into Star Wars, and I kind of love to see it. The fact that Ahmed Best came back to Star Wars Celebration a couple of years ago, and like he got cheered and applauded when he showed up, I was like, holy shit. the guy who was like, everyone was like, Jar Jar Binks ruined Star Wars. And then the fact that the fandom now kind of accepted him back and he got to do the YouTube series, Jedi, whatever it was. It was like a kid's show, Jedi Challenge. Like, I love the fact that the key Star Wars, you can be like, whatever, I'm a hardcore fan or whatever, but the people going to Star Wars Celebration, they're pretty hardcore fans, right? And the fact that everyone there cheered and accepted him back, the fact that Hayden Christensen, I think, was there that year for the first time in ages, just doing like autographs and that sort of stuff, and everyone was excited to have him back. So it's kind of like the fandom, quote unquote, the fandom turned a leaf at some point. And I like to see that because I'm like, why? Like, you can not like the films, but the fact that these two actors in particular got so much hate, like I never really, like, to a degree, like, oh, you should kill yourself degree of hate. I'm like, no, we should, like, it wasn't their fault. You blame George Lucas or something. I don't know, whatever. And
it's almost like their appearances can also turn around public kind of opinion as well. Like, oh, you know, they were getting a lot of shit, and now they've shunned Star Wars. They're like, oh, they're coming back. They're not ashamed of what they did or whatever. They're kind of embracing us as well. I know that's not to all like trolls and haters and fuck those, but like for people like, oh, Hayden's coming back, or, you know.
And I also just really feel like it's like, especially because a couple of years ago, a lot of the people who were like 12, around, you know, youngish age, like 12, 13, 14, when the prequels were coming out, they were older now and they're attending Star Wars Celebration. And a lot of those people, right, who are like my age, like, so I was, you know, young when the prequels coming out. For some reason, my dad showed me all the Star Wars movies when I was like fucking 5, but Empire scared the shit out of me. They watched all these movies, and I guess the thing that older Star Wars fans don't understand is that for the people who their first Star Wars movie was Episode 1, the second was Episode 2, and the third was Episode 3, they fell in love with Star Wars because of those 3 movies, and the fact that the fandom for years told them that their love for the prequels is not right because they're not proper Star Wars fans and all this sort of shit. Like, I never, like, it's kind of just, it was always wrong. Like, it's just like a very dark place of the fandom. And those people have now got older and they're the ones who are online, like, super excited to the degree I am, like Hayden Christensen come back. Cause it's kind of like, it is sort of him coming back to get another chance at this role. To me, just does feel like, I don't even care if he's not in it much. Like, just him having a go as Darth Vader properly just feels like him getting accepted back into the fandom to a degree. And like to a degree, I hope it makes him feel like, I would imagine it would make him feel really good. And even like Ewan McGregor, because they went through like they went through so much time on those movies together. They if you watch any of the behind the scenes stuff on the prequels movies, which is, even if you hate those movies, the behind the scenes featurettes is some of the most interesting stuff you can probably watch about the prequels. Those two like really grew a friendship on that movie, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, "Ewan McGregor, you were good, but Hayden Christensen, you ruined Star Wars. Fuck off." So like, just to have them back together in a movie, I think is just something special. And like for someone like me who like Revenge of the Sith is my top 3 Star Wars movies, right? So for me, I love Hayden Christensen in that movie. I love Ewan McGregor in that movie. To see them back together is really special. I'm really looking forward to it. And for all the people flipping out going, "Oh, they can't fucking meet again," I dare you to go watch New Hope again, and you tell me at all why anything they say to one another, Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, anything they say to each other means they could not have met before. Because all Darth Vader says is that last time we met, you were the master and I was the student. Everyone's always assumed that was the fight in Revenge of the Sith. It is such a line that you can easily go, well, the last time was actually this fight that they have in this. Because they are going to fight. Kathleen Kennedy said on the stream, the rematch of the century is what she said, quote for quote. They're going to fight. And I'm fucking excited.
Wow.
Then they announced a Droid Story, which will be a series, like a project featuring R2-D2 and C-3PO. Fine. Yeah, they announced Star Wars Visions will be an anthology series of anime shorts coming to Disney+.
I'm all about that. Kind of reminds me when they did Animatrix, but like had a bunch of cool ideas, but some of them weren't as good as others, and this sounds like that, just but bigger. So,
Then they announced Lando a new event series coming from Justin Simien, the creator of Dear White People. No confirmation of which Lando. Will it be
both.
Billy Dee Williams?
It's both.
Will it be?
It's both.
Donald Glover? Both at the same time?
Here's how they do it, right?
It's secret. It's secretly called Lando's.
Wait, have you watched Dear White People? Has anyone watched? So
no.
Right. So look, Dear White People is a show that's often told through monologues and like voiceover characters. So Lando starts, got older Lando, and remember that scene in Solo where Donald Glover's like in the thing and he's doing his like Lando's journal, blah 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 blah. Right. So the show starts. It's older Lando, and he's like, here's the two ways you can take this. A, he's just randomly going over his stories he's recorded over years. B, this is the one I hate the most, but I don't want to happen, but I'll just put it out there. He's going over these fucking stories with the character who they were like, oh, maybe it's his daughter in Rise of Skywalker. Well, I'm just going to throw that out there because it's a possibility. I don't want it to happen. The one I'd like to see happen the most, old Lando is telling these stories to a little young baby, Ben Solo, when he's doing his... And if you're like, that scene sounds ridiculous still, there's no way he's babysat. They already did it in the novels. Like they've had baby Ben and Lando cute baby moments in in the Last Shot novel that came out prior to Solo. So here's my pitch. He's telling the story of his travels or whatever, his tales, and then we go flashback, and then it's all Donald Glover.
Yeah. Young Indiana Jones this shit. Come on.
Done.
Yeah.
Narrate it.
Done.
Give us the proper origins of Lando. Or do you want it post Solo?
I think you go post Solo because it would be really cool for them to actually start doing something with Emilia Clarke's character. I think they should, if they were to bring her back anywhere, like as potentially like a 1 episode thing to see if people still felt good about her before maybe doing something else with her character. I feel like you could do that in this backdoor pilot inside this to a degree. I'll tell you something else I want this show to be. I want this show to be super fucking gay. Like, you know what, they always play around with Lando's sexuality. I want them to just piss off all the fuckboys online and just be like, yeah, he's in the guys, girls, robots, fuck. He fucks anything, man. It's like space.
All right. Then on the movie front, they announced that Patty Jenkins will be directing the next Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron, due out December 2023.
What a baller move. Like Warner Brothers, they were, you know, you got your girl, she's doing Wonder Woman. She's kind of the highlight of all your 3 characters here, Batman, Superman, all that kind of shit. She was a bit of the standout here, and we got more praise.
Arguably made the best movie in that universe.
Yep. And we're going to get her over here on Team Marvel to make a Star Wars movie, so...
I will say I really enjoyed, obviously, the video that she put out explaining why she's doing Rogue Squadron. Obviously, her dad worked in the Air Force, and obviously cool. She's been wanting to do something about planes or fighter jets for a long time. So this is finally the project to do it. So apparently not based on anything. It's going to be completely original.
Yeah. So I was about to say there's 2 notes on this.
Obviously, the name has been used a lot.
Rogue Squadron is book series, games or whatever, and then they did books or whatever. I haven't read or played any of them. I know the hardcore legendaries or whatever love it. This is going to have nothing to do with it, and I'm a little bit of both worlds of them using the name, because then you can have all these people kind of spit it when it's nothing like the original, because it's not going to be anything like it. But I'm like, it's a cool name, and also I think the good thing you get about using it is people do know Rogue One. So I guess if you like this kind of people like Rogue One, Rogue Squadron, like it's more about
it's like a sequel.
I feel like that's potentially what it is. And then the other thing I thought was of note is when in that Twitter video she says, I can't remember her exact line, but she says something about like, oh, I didn't really know what project I want to do next, and then someone presented me this. So like maybe she's doing some rewriting on it to a degree or whatever, but it sounds like someone's already wrote this script and then gone like, hey, Patty Jenkins, do you want to direct this? And she said yes. So we don't know who the writer is, but it definitely sounds like this is already something that's at least got a first draft or yeah.
Pretty keen. and then they just reconfirmed Taika Waititi is currently working on a Star Wars film.
Fucking cool logo.
In development. He seems to be... Yeah.
That's all I got for that.
He's working on a lot of stuff, so...
Yeah. Too much.
What we do in the galaxy.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, let's move over to Disney Animation and Pixar. Obviously, they confirmed Raya the Last Dragon will be premiering March 5th, 2021, but also will be available on Disney Plus via Premier Access day one.
For $30 million or whatever the hell it costs.
$30, okay, yeah. Mentioned this briefly on the All New Marvelcast. Obviously, this is the only film so far they've mentioned the Premier Access. So I suspect it's going to be a wait and see. Especially if Black Widow doesn't come out until May. If cinema numbers in the US are going up, then maybe they don't bother putting on Disney Plus. But if cinema numbers are still very soft, then maybe they've got
a good kind of litmus test with some of the HBO Max and the Warner Brothers stuff going up before that as well.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, I'm definitely keen to check out this one in theaters where it should be. Same with If Only Soul was playing in theaters, but
gonna go watch it to support my girl.
Yeah. Then they announced a bunch of spin-offs to a lot of their more recent films. They're doing a Baymax series based on Big Hero 6. They're doing a Zootopia Plus series of shorts based on Zootopia. They're doing a series called Tiana based on The Princess and the Frog. They're doing a long-form musical comedy series for Moana. That's set hit in 2023. And then they're also doing a series called Uwaju, which is in partnership with Kugali Media, which is an African media group. So that's going to be a very African-focused series. So a lot of interesting things in the works there. This is like the modern-day direct-to-DVD sequel, I think. Mm-hmm. Except like longer and obviously, filling good stuff to fill out the streaming platform, I think. Pretty keen to... The Zootopia stuff looks interesting. Obviously, that was an interesting world that they didn't really flesh out too much. And if we can get more of a sloth life, that'd be pretty cool. And yeah, more Moana. Yeah, give me more of that.
I still haven't watched Moana, but I love Zootopia, so...
Monster. Then they confirmed their next film will be called Encanto, a movie set in Colombia, set in like a magical house somewhere in South America, with music written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So that's in development. He's just doing everything. I think Disney might have bought
Lin-Manuel. Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people they bought with apparently. So that's something. Pixar announced that their next Spark short, Burrow, will debut on Disney Plus on 25th of December. They're going to release Pixar Popcorn, which will be shorts featuring iconic Pixar characters. That starts in January. Doug Days will be a series of shorts starring Doug from Up. If you didn't watch the clip that they put in the investor meeting,
I missed this.
It's pretty adorable.
Watch this.
It wasn't the best timing for this when it was up against the Game Awards. It was very
My
tough for all of us.
My name is Doug, and I love
fans.
You. What a dog.
Yeah. What's the old guy's name?
No one remembers the old guy's name. The old guy.
No,
everyone's like, the old guy from Up?
Yeah, the old guy from Up whose wife dies in the first 10 minutes. Very sad. He's obviously babysitting some puppies, so he lets the puppies out to let Doug look after them.
Oh, it's like a flashback. Adorable. Damn.
Kind of.
Origin story.
They're doing a Cars series.
Nah, fuck off.
That's coming to Disney Plus following Lightning McQueen and Mater.
No, we only care
Obviously
about Netflix's Fast and Furious series. Now we don't give a fuck about this Cars series, actually.
This is clearly a massive marketing opportunity. And now they can make more Cars toys. That's kind of what it's all about. And then they announced their first animated series, Win or Lose, which is going to be about a middle school softball team the week before a match, but then each episode will be told from a perspective of a different kid from the team, because they've all got their own point of view of how the events unfold and that kind of stuff. So I think they explained it better in the actual presentation.
It's just every episode they're like, it was his fault we lost. It was his fault we lost.
Yeah. Then on the Pixar movie side, they showed a little bit of Luca, the next film that's set to release June 2021, about a boy named Luca set in Italy and having adventures. It looks like Call Me By Your Name, except without all the
sex,
love stuff.
Apricots,
no apricots,
Peaches.
just lots of riding bikes,
writing something
and stuff.
Wow.
They announced their next original film, Turning Red, is in development, about a 13-year-old girl who goes through puberty, but transformed into a giant red panda when she gets too excited.
Oh, that's why it's called Turning Red. Okay, got it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Maybe it's a double meaning.
Okay.
So that's interesting. And then they announced Lightyear, which is going to be the origin story of Buzz Lightyear, the character that the toy is based on.
Which sounds like a parody at first, but it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Buzz Lightyear will be voiced by Chris Evans. Solid choice.
I'm going to watch this. I don't know. It sounds stupid, but
I mean, it sounds like a ridiculous notion, but I'm definitely going to watch this. Just the screenshot they put up, Buzz looks incredible in it. Then I guess the other major thing for us here in Australia is they're going to be releasing Disney's Star will be the new umbrella inside Disney Plus for a lot more mature content. So a lot of their Hulu projects,
Alien,
a lot of their
Deadpool,
a lot of the M-rated stuff. So hang on, I had a list. So of the stuff they were showing in like the what could potentially be coming to Star within Disney Plus, stuff like War for the Planet of the Apes, Kingsman, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, Grey's Anatomy, Homeland, The Sixth Sense, Devil Wears Prada, 24, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Prison Break, My Name is Earl, Modern Family, Grand Budapest Hotel, Shape of Water, Love Victor, Desperate Housewives, Die Hard, Atlanta, Deadpool 2, How I Met Your Mother, Jojo Rabbit, Moonrise Kingdom, so all the different stuff that they haven't had, they would probably want to have put on Disney+.
All the stuff they brought has been sitting in a warehouse just waiting to get onto a streaming platform.
Yes. Now they've got a place to put it all.
All the stuff they Thanos snapped.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So there will be a price increase. I believe the price is going up from $8.99 a month to $11.99 a month, or from $89 a year to $119.99 a year.
I don't think this...
And this is included, and the price hike is for everybody, or you choose whether you want to opt in?
I believe it's for everybody. Yeah.
I think they're just...
It's built in.
I think that this is just... When they announced Disney Plus a year ago, we all went, that's fucking cheap. They're going to put that price up a year from now. And then they announced the price hike next to announcement or something to hide the fact they were probably just going to put the price up anyway. They're like, we're putting the price up, but you get more stuff. I always thought the price was going to go up. They undercut it at launch to get heaps of people to pay, especially next to Netflix and everything. And now that they've got a bunch more content on there, they've got a couple seasons of Mandalorian and all these other things to help make it seem more exciting. People are going to go like, oh yeah, I guess it's worth paying for now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we should expect all the Hulu original stuff. I don't know. It sounds like all the FX essential stuff will be coming across, which to me raises the question: what happens to a company like Stan, who has a lot of that kind of stuff? I feel like they're going to take a big hit to their catalog. But yeah. But other announcements, guys. I know you were super happy, or no, you were super upset that Keeping Up with the Kardashians finished. But they're coming to Disney Plus. Disney bought the Kardashians. They bought Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they bought the Kardashians. It's crazy. Disney could buy anything.
Kanye's racist.
Does Kanye
know?
I don't know if he's included in the package. Probably not. I'm guessing the project you want to talk about, Dylan. Alien. Coming to FX. Being showrun by John Hockley?
Yeah, Hockley or whatever. The guy who did Fargo and Legion.
Yes.
So the guy who did Fargo and Legion is making an Alien TV show, and that's all I needed to know because I was like, yes, that does sound like a thing that I would be very much interested in. He has a very good track record, and I'm hoping this won't be the one that ruins his track record, but I actually think Alien could make a very good TV show. I think you can do a slow burn, barely show it for a long time. You know, like just do that sort of route. And the Alien franchise has such like a deep lore now that there's a lot of interesting like fan services / world building type stories you could take this show. So I'm 100% down for this. I thought this was one of the more interesting announcements, especially given when Disney got Fox. We were all like, oh, is this the end of Predator franchise? You know, like all these like big franchises that we love. And I think that this announcement is actually a really smart direction to take the franchise, and is probably even more interesting than if Fox had like announced, oh, we're doing another fucking Prometheus and Ridley Scott's going to try and get it right this time. I'd be like, oh, don't really care. Whereas this is actually more exciting.
Just give it up.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the lore of Aliens being so deep, and with kind of the letdown personally that I had in Prometheus and even Alien Covenant to a degree where they kind of just trying to half-ass it. And it was like a backdoor pilot for Prometheus 2 with half the lore in there. I feel like it jam-packs too much lore into their movies, and it's way better suited to something like a TV series without cramming it down your throat with, oh, look, this also exists in this world. Look over here. And
definitely. They also announced that they're going to make a Rolling Stones TV show. That's going to be interesting.
Cool.
Someone's going to have moves like Jagger.
Yeah. Someone.
Adam Levine.
Yeah, maybe Adam Levine is Mick Jagger.
He's got the moves.
He does have the moves. Let's see what else. I missed this one over at Lucasfilm. Indiana Jones 5. It's coming. Still. Directed by James Mangold.
Just let it go already. Just let's just get Young Indiana Jones TV series. Let's pop that on there. Let's move on from this, all right?
Yeah, I don't know who's actually holding out for Indiana Jones 5. I don't because Harrison Ford is not like, because they have to shoot around him for the action scenes. You know what I mean? To the degree, I think it's sort of a detriment to the movie that you can't have him doing the sort of stuff that he did back in the day about him hurting himself. Like, and if they'd announced this movie 20 years ago, James Mangold is doing, we're like, cool. But like alternate universe, like it's an exciting.
You'd be like, who's James Mangold?
I just mean like alternate universe. You know who Mangold is now. Younger Harrison Ford. It'd be like a really exciting partnership.
If Harrison Ford drank a magic potion that made him 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
and then that could happen in the Indiana Jones universe. To be honest.
Possibly. I mean, yeah.
Opening credits.
And then recast to somebody else.
Honestly, the most exciting thing I could see happening for this movie is they actually it's secretly like passing of the torch very early in the movie, and it's not even a movie starring him. Like it's actually sort of, it passes over to a different person to be that role.
It's your Lando pitch, yeah.
No, I mean like they have him and like the Shia LaBeouf replacement person or whatever, and yeah, because he's not going to be in it now. He's definitely not going to be in it now. Without touching on that too much, but he's definitely not going to be in it.
He turns out, I can't believe he wasn't my son all along.
Remember how they ended
It was a terrible.
They ended Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
The pregnancy tests came so far along in these few years.
Fucking disgusting. By the way, I just remember since you said that the other one thing from the Lucasfilm thing is that they continued to talk about that book, which name I can't remember of.
Children of Blood and Bone,
which is exciting because Lucasfilm has not made a new franchise or property for so long or whatever. I think the fact that Lucasfilm's stepping outside of just trying to make Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and they've brought the rights to this book and they're trying to build up a new franchise around it, I think that is exciting. It fits perfectly into Lucasfilm. It's like a fantasy novel and everything, so I do think that's exciting. Apparently, Rick Famuyiwa is attached to that, so that's cool. I think I got it right.
What name?
Rick Famuyiwa? Is it not Famuyiwa? I think it's... You'll know who I mean.
Yeah. I'll just list off some other things. You say yeah or nay. Running very long this episode. Hocus Pocus 2.
No.
Nay.
3 Men and a Baby starring Zac Efron.
No.
No.
Cheaper by the Dozen reboot starring Kenya Barris, Gabrielle Union.
No.
Sister Act 3.
No.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in Sister Act 1 and 2, so.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers starring John Mulaney and Andy Samberg, done by the Lonely Island guys.
Yes.
Pinocchio, directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring
no.
Tom Hanks. Peter Pan and Wendy, starring Jude Law as Captain Hook and Yara Shahidi, Tinkerbell.
No. I don't think so.
Disenchanted, the sequel to Enchanted.
No. I hate Tinkerbell as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hate Disney, confirmed, because we only said yes to like one thing.
Kind of hate Disney. I think we'll just end up watching all this. Let's be honest. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I won't. I'll be cancelling my subscription until I have to force watch Mandalorian or whatever other Star Wars property turns out to actually be good.
They're going to get you at a stage where there's a new Star Wars show out every month.
Did you see they showed a trailer for the Mighty Ducks TV series?
No, I didn't want to see this.
I mean, it doesn't look good. It kind of reminds me of the first film, though. So
you said it doesn't look good, but it reminds you of the first film, which kind of seems... against...
doesn't...
That rubs against the...
I mean, the first film's not great.
Yeah, it is. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Champions. It's fucking awesome.
I'm sure it doesn't hold up as well. Wrong. I mean, I love it, but you know,
you're wrong.
Not a
Next
great
one you
film.
want to watch, right?
D2 is better.
Iceland, fuck them. And now I've got one for you now. Heartbreak High reboot.
That's
Netflix.
what I was going to bring up next.
Yeah. I can read your mind. I can see.
Can I just say, like, behind the scenes, how hilarious it is that we're on that fucking voice chat that night. Ash is like, hey, Heartbreak High is on Netflix or whatever. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck? And now I'm going to watch all that. And then it's like 48 hours later, they announce the reboot. I'm like, what is the timing of all this?
Yeah.
So, more than 20 years after the finale, the teenage drama series Heartbreak High is returning with producers pushing for a rawer depiction of the high school experience this time around. Netflix has commissioned 8 episodes of the reboot, which is being produced by Fremantle, whose Australian arm is behind series like Wentworth and Neighbours. Of course, the series ran from 1994 to 1999, airing on Network 10 and then on ABC, and was afternoon staple for many people, including our own buddy. Of course, spawning a bunch of different careers. Probably the one person they mentioned this is Callan Mulvey, who people probably best know from that other guy who's in the elevator when Captain America beats people up.
And
hey, he was in Batman v Superman as well. Have you know?
He was in Batman.
I like how that's my one call out. I'm on brand.
But yeah, it sounds like they are planning to go much more honest. It says in a previous incarnation, it went really close, but it was also on the ABC and Network 10, so there were doubt limits on where the show could go and where storylines could go. This time around, we'll talk about partying, we'll talk about relationships, we'll talk about drugs, and we'll tell it like it is. Let's get under the skin, and we can get into that MA rating and go as far as we want to go.
Get that OG Degrassi junior high fucking...
So they're probably not going to be saying rack off. They're going to be saying the other off.
There's a lot of rack off in Drazik's fucking catchphrase, rack off.
All right, so buddy, massive Heartbreak High fan. How much does this excite you?
Very excited. I'll keep it PG.
Yeah. Okay. So
can't wait. Watch Heartbreak High. So.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Probably fucking aged terribly, so don't worry, just watch Degrassi.
Or you can watch the original on Netflix. Interesting, apparently the series was a spin-off from the movie Heartbreak Kid, starring Alex Dimitriades and Claudia Carvin.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently in that film, Claudia Carvin plays a teacher, he plays an 18-year-old student, and they fall in love. So, you know.
I hate it already.
That aged well. All right, let's move into what did we end up watching. Buddy, what did we end up watching?
The greatest Christmas movie of all time. Miracle on 34th Street.
Fuck that, because he usually says, yes, we watched something, but he can't. But since he obviously disagrees, he's like, How do I transition? I can't say yes.
We watched Die Hard.
Welcome to Los Angeles. Have a very Merry Christmas.
So your lady live out here?
About the past 6 months.
Why'd you come with her, man? What's up?
Because I'm a New York cop. Can't just pick up and go that easy.
John, I missed you.
You can walk out of here or be carried out, but have no illusions. We are in charge.
Think, damn it, think.
We've got a fire alarm. I thought I told all of you I want radio silence.
Sorry, I didn't get that message.
Mayday, terrorists have seized the Nakatomi Plaza.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Possible crane call. Check the area, confirm.
No signs of disturbance, dispatch.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay. You hang in there. Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
Then we cross it off your, I guess, your bucket list, Ash. So you've never seen Die Hard before, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
So I guess you're best to ask first, because I've seen it plenty of times, and I love it.
So it's the 1988 film directed by John McTiernan, starring Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Alexander Gunov, Bonnie Belladella, and Reginald Vell Johnson. An NYPD officer tries to save his wife and several others taken hostage by German terrorists during a Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza in Los Angeles. Yes, so I have never seen this film before, but I felt like I had. Obviously, it's been referenced a lot. I knew the plot. I know Alec Rickman falls off the roof.
I've watched Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It's basically the same, bro.
Basically the same, So going into this, I was like, obviously, like you said with Citizen Kane, this is obviously one of the greatest regarded action films of all time, sporting action franchise that kind of is gone nowhere recently. This might be one of the best things I've watched this year. So It clearly does hold up.
Welcome to the party, pal.
It was a perfectly paced, great action. I mean, some of the character stuff might be a little bit dated and may not work as well nowadays. But yeah, across the board, brilliant. I think if this had been released today, it'd still be regarded as one of the best action films coming out at the moment. So yeah,
Bruce Willis, the charismatic everyman, the cowboy.
Yes. It's pretty great. Dylan, well, obviously you've.
I've watched Die Hard fucking a million times. Like, I feel like, come on, everyone's watched Die Hard a million times. I swear this is one of the first, like, M-rated movies my dad let me watch. He's like when I hit, like, 12 or something, probably, he, like, was like, you can watch 15 plus now. It's like, you watch Die Hard now. And I remember watching that as a little kid and just being completely enamored with it. And, like, I still think the opening, like, the first 45-ish minutes of this movie is always my favorite part from run to go. I actually think the back end's my least favorite part of Die Hard. I love just when this movie starts up and it's like the credit sequence and that music kicks in, like just like like it sounds Christmassy, but also sounds like tensions building. Like I think this movie has sort of an underrated score to it to a degree, and just like everything in that opening scene, like the build up to it, the fantastic tracking shot of like when the car and the car goes across and then the truck goes down, like they have that from the side and they dip down and all these sorts of things that follows around, and just how no one talks as they just go about this whole fucking thing. Like you just wouldn't see that today because you would have to have a bigger name playing the bad guy, and you'd have to have lots of like weird banter, and just like I love the fact that they just roll in and they're just completely on a mission. And like the first time watching this movie, if you don't know what's happening, the fact that those two just walk in the front door and they're just like chatting away or whatever, and he just shoots the security guard straight away. Like I remember, like that's shocking the first time you kind of watch it. Like what the fuck? Like you know what you're in for off the poster or the trailer or the description, of course. But I think this movie just kind of comes out of the gate. And then, yeah, I mean, this is the movie that made Bruce Willis the action star that he is now. Like prior to this, he was mostly known for that, what was that TV show called?
Moonlighting.
Moonlighting, yeah. So this was kind of his breakout action role. And I guess if you didn't know, they've never watched this, everyone just accepts that Bruce Willis is this action star now where he pretty much plays the same role. I mean, this is the formation of the Bruce Willis that everybody knows and loves. And I think the epitome of that Bruce Willis role, like the John McClane character, is probably one of my favorite moments in the movie. It's just, I don't even know if it was part of the script. And then is that part where he's like on the roof and he does the whole turnaround, and the fact that like the first time he comes past that naked picture of the girl, like he like looks at it as he goes past, like everything going on, he like looks at it, he's like, oh, boobs, and he continues. And every time it just kind of makes me laugh how he just, as he's walking past it, he's like, girls, and they're like, you know, like just all the like the little mannerisms
each time.
Yeah, each time. And then like just, I think that's the thing that made the characters just like little, even when he gets into the crawl space or whatever, he's like, come to the party, have a few drinks, bring up a crowd. Like, it's just all like the delivery on the
have a laugh,
it'll be great, you know, like all the, yeah, it's just, it's an absolutely fantastic movie. And of course, the other thing is, Alan Rickman is one of the all-time best movie villains ever in this, in my opinion. He is just this cool, calm, collected villain, and it's like he gets to do so much. But I love how he also gets to show as an actor. He's when he does the whole fake out scene, you know, just collapses. And he's like, no, it's just that sort of
the American accent.
Do you know how to shoot a gun? Well, I once took a paintball, you know, with things where you shoot the bull dots or whatever. Like it's just the way he's like says into this. There's just so many memorable scenes in this movie, and it's just kind of disappointed how they've run this. It's so funny how this movie is kind of
yuck.
It's like I look at this movie and go, this is how you should make action movies. And then the sequels they've made over the last couple of years is literally like, I don't know how anyone watches this and goes, I will make literally the opposite of this, which is just bombastic, over the top explosions, nonsensical action. Like, I don't know. They've ruined the franchise.
Keep it grounded. New York City. He's a cop. Like, for fuck's sake, he's not a part of the FBI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's an everyman, and you need him to be in situations of the everyman.
Yeah.
That's the appeal about him. It's the same with Lethal Weapon to a degree as well. Like Riggs and Murtaugh, specifically with Riggs, like he's damaged. He's like relatable, and the amount of pain that he goes through, like not just mentally but also physically, is something that like kind of mirrors Bruce Willis's character in McClane. Like he's getting his ass kicked. He's walking through glass. Like he's getting.
Well, at the end of this movie, he's
down.
just completely bloodied and
covered in blood.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, that was always like almost like to a noirish type trait where the main character would just get their ass kicked but still kind of prevail, and maybe
Jack
that's why
Nicholson
I secretly
love
that genre.
Chinatown or whatever, gets his nose punched at the start, and then he has to wear that thing over his nose for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I will say I was expecting the yippee-ki-yay motherfucker to be a bigger moment, but it was kind of like a small thing
Number
that
two,
gets brought up. So
it's a thing that they said. So everyone fell in love with it, and then of course for the sequels they're like, it's the line. He said, "Say the line, say the fucking line." It's like one of those moments.
Yeah, you should definitely watch 2, because that is also a Christmas movie.
2's okay. 3's the second best one in the franchise. That's my order.
3's great.
Yeah, 1, 3, 2. Yeah, that's it.
And that's all they made.
That's all they made.
That's all they did? Okay, good to know. Maybe we'll discuss it next time. I will say, I think Reginald Vell Johnson's bit where he says he killed a child and that's why he's not like a active duty officer doesn't play as well currently.
No.
You know?
In the current climate.
Why is he still on the police force?
I think he says it was an accident. But no, that wouldn't play as well if this released now. No.
I'd argue it would play worse if he was white.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Very, very true. You'll be happy he returns, Ash. If you like his character. He comes back.
Yeah. They were best buddies, you know, talking that entire time.
They are by the end of this movie. They're fucking bonded, man.
Bonded.
I guess
they knew each other, not even seeing each other before.
Is it a Christmas movie?
think so.
You think so?
I think
Is Home Alone a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Die Hard's also a Christmas movie. They're the same. They're the same movie.
Basically.
No. I mean, Home Alone's more about the spirit of Christmas. So.
Yeah, so it's this. This is about
stealing things, and Christmas is the time it takes place because that's when most stuff is in the house. Same as Nakatomi Plaza. They're just there stealing things, and everyone's at home during Christmas.
Really,
so
this movie is about a guy coming home for Christmas to see his kids, and the movie's about him fighting to save him and his wife's lives so they can go home to be with their kids for Christmas. It's literally about a family trying to stay together for Christmas, Ash.
Yeah, Die Hard's the same as Home Alone.
I guess I can't argue with that. So Die Hard Christmas movie, definitive.
1, 2, good, and then it gets worse.
Yeah. And the other thing, I think that reporter dude got off lightly. You know.
Oh, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Break into these people's house in the middle of the night so you can talk to their kids on camera.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that, like, with the babysitter or whatever, like, he literally blackmails her by being like, if you don't, I'll call it IS. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. That probably wouldn't go over as well now either. So, yeah, there's lots of weird things like that. Also, shout out to Bruce Willis with hair in this movie. Just want to call that one out.
Yeah,
it's always a standout.
With the hair.
It's always a standout.
Maybe we wear some toupees or something, mate.
What is it? Is it also funny, like, watching this for the first time? So Bruce Willis, he's just average looking dude or whatever. And that was like part of the thing for this movie. But like, then action movies, most people think action movie heroes have to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger, big buff dudes. And these days,
and he kind of became that to a degree.
Yeah, like, but even nowadays, it's like with The Rock is like the leading action man or whatever. We haven't really had a Bruce Willis like action star come out of nowhere, just sort of every man for quite some time. I can't really, other than the ones that Buddy mentioned, like Mel Gibson would be the other example.
Yeah, but nothing recently.
No,
it doesn't help that the majority of the market is superhero movies, and superhero movies are muscly.
That's a good point.
Yeah, all the guys who could have played that type of everyman get super buff for the Marvel movies, and then
and Vin Diesel's still buff guy, big guy in like Fast and the Furious franchise now as well.
Yeah, he only gets buff for those, and then he gets that bod afterwards. We love we love Vin Diesel no matter what. But I can't really think of it. It's kind of, I was saying to Buddy the other day about how much I love The Nice Guys, and fuck, if I ever think about like how disappointing it is that we just don't get sort of comedy action movie. I know Die Hard's more leaning towards action than comedy, but it is funny, and I kind of just miss these types of movies, like your Lethal Weapons and shit like that. I'm like, it's fucking sad state of affairs out there. It's just,
even Lethal Weapon takes place in Christmas. It's not a Christmas movie. Shane Black.
I was about to say, in case people don't know, Shane Black is obsessed with Christmas. Wrote Lethal Weapon, wrote Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, wrote Iron Man 3. By the way, Iron Man 3, Christmas movie. Wrote Nice Guys, whatever. If you're ever looking for a Christmas movie, just literally go to IMDb page of Shane Black, roll a fucking number. There's your Christmas movie.
There you go. True. But yeah, I think the thing I'll appreciate most is now I understand all the references and things like Brooklyn Nine-Nine that they're making about Die Hard. Actually, I watched an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine that's like specifically...
What's about this?
There's an episode that's like a real life... Like, they get into like a hostage situation where they're inside a convenience store, and Andy Samberg's like, this is real life Die Hard. So I went and rewatched that episode afterwards.
Wow, that's funny.
He does all the things. He writes the names on his arm.
Is there any, just as a random question, is there any other like thing that's been parodied a lot that you is there anything else that stands out that it's been parodied a lot that that's being parodied but you actually haven't watched?
The source material.
Yeah.
Probably. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
What else think is, because I know if we all watch you watch
maybe like Shawshank. That's
you ever watched Shawshank?
No.
Have you watched Reservoir Dogs?
Yes.
Okay, I was about to say, because I'm pretty sure I'm being elite today that was parodying Reservoir Dogs with the fucking everyone pointing guns at each other in the room, but that's like a parade scene often. Where everyone's like pointing guns at one another because Reservoir Dogs thing.
That could be anything.
Oh no,
that could be anything.
I feel like it's always Reservoir Dogs though. Like everyone always thinks of the like standoff.
Community. That's the other show that has a lot of Die Hard references in like the paintball episodes and stuff.
Yeah, Community's just references
that last
the TV
one
show.
where he's got the pistol on his back.
Ah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Die Hard 3.
Lucky they laughed with him, right? Instead of just shooting him.
It's great. I like how they laugh. They got him. Got him good. Yeah, so you're going to watch the rest?
Maybe. Maybe maybe we'll do something going forward.
Die Hard 3. Okay. Look forward to it. But
Die Hard rewatch special. Put it on Radio Watson. Make it happen. Yeah. Got plenty of specials coming next year. Woo.
Yeah.
Put it out there, Ash, just to tantalize you for what you have coming in Die Hard. Die Hard 3. The villain, Hans's brother.
I feel like I've watched 3.
Massive fucking spoiler.
I think I've watched half of Vengeance. Yeah. I know he wears a billboard at a point with like stuff. I don't think I watched the entire thing.
They parodied it in Simpsons before. They're like, it's his brother.
All right, that brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? Buddy, where can people find you on the internet?
Dark places. No, you can find me on Twitter at BuddyWatson12 and also Radio Watson, which is the talk show where I discuss movies, music, games, sport, anything. And I really like is Nothing's Off Limits. You can find that on Twitter at Radio Watson _ and also on all good podcast services, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and all the other places you fetch your podcast there as well.
Yeah, it's good. You'll find us on that probably. When's the next AEW thing?
Revolution, February probably, unless there's some kind of a special thing coming up. So
cool. You can find me and Dylan on Twitter by going to explosionnetwork.com/Twitter. Or you can just go to explosionnetwork.com, find all our stuff there. All the news, reviews, podcasts, everything. It's all there at explosionnetwork.com. If you want to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or let us know what you thought of the show on Twitter, or tell a friend about the podcast. Let them know I crossed one off the bucket list. Die Hard, done. If that was a thing that was holding them back from listening to this podcast going forward, that I hadn't watched Die Hard, now they've got a reason to be able to listen.
If people aren't listening to this because there's big movies you haven't watched, there's a big list to go for.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
Can't wait to watch Batman, the Justice League, where he says, "Fuck yeah, fuck you, Superman." Fucking super pumped now. I know he swears. I love that.
No, apparently, there's a chance that 4-hour movie is going to be released in cinemas.
That'll keep me away from you. Want to kill cinema? You release a Zack Snyder cut.
I mean, I'm excited for this movie. I couldn't believe the story was, hey, Batman, he might say fuck.
Oh, crazy! Like the year after he showed his penis in one of those comics.
Wow.